Chapter 499. Communication paper. Since you're here, why hide? Come out. Whoosh! Just as Ning Yu finished his sentence, the space in front of him suddenly split open and a martial artist appeared. Spirit Fox number 1. Li Tongtian and Feng Zi shouted at the same time when they saw the martial artist who suddenly appeared. They could not help but lean towards Ning Yu. After all, Spirit Fox number 1 was a peak advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Li Tongtian and Feng Zi would not be able to withstand a single blow from him. Moreover, Ning Yu had a peak advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artist by his side. Li Tongtian and Feng Zi felt safer. How did you discover me? Spirit Fox number 1 ignored Li Tongtian and Feng Zi and asked Ning Yu in a low voice. As a top assassin in the assassination pavilion, Spirit Fox number 1 was very proud of his concealment skills. He was so proud that he almost worshipped it. Actually, it was no wonder. Before he was discovered by Ning Yu, he had been hiding in the space for a long time. After hiding for so long, he was not discovered by the advanced Yin-Yang realm martial artist by Ning Yu's side. Instead, he was discovered by Ning Yu. How could Spirit Fox number 1 tolerate this? I didn't discover him. It was discovered by the person beside me. Ning Yu pointed at the alchemist hall master and said, Actually, he discovered you when you first arrived. I just did not ask him to say it. Humph. Hearing Ning Yu's words, Spirit Fox number 1 snorted coldly. You killed Spirit Fox number 2 and Spirit Fox number 3. I can kill you 10 times over. But don't worry, I won't kill you. I will only capture you and make you suffer inhumane pain. Are you done? Ning Yu shrugged at Spirit Fox number 1's threat and said, If you are, let's fight. Swoosh! As soon as the word fight was said, Ning Yu rose from the ground and slashed with the soul-severing sword. In a split second, several shocking sword waves appeared and attacked the Spirit Fox number 1 at the same time. Insignificant skill. Spirit Fox number 1's eyes turned cold as he faced the numerous sword waves that were heading towards him. He waved his sleeves, and several beams of cold light shot out. Chi, chi, chi. In the next moment, the cold light collided with the numerous sword ripples. As expected, the sword ripples dissipated into the surroundings. It seems that with my strength, I can only fight against a middle Yin-Yang stage martial artist at most. If I fight against a late Yin-Yang stage martial artist, I will only be killed. After one move, Ning Yu tactfully retreated several feet away. Ning Yu knew his limits. He knew that he could only fight against a martial artist at the pinnacle of the middle stage Yin-Yang realm. Facing a late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist, only death awaited him. He wouldn't even have a chance to escape. Shoo! Seeing Ning Yu retreat, the Spirit Fox stomped on the ground, wanting to chase after him. However, before the Spirit Fox one could move, a figure steadily landed in front of him. You better get out of my way, or I will kill you as well. Looking at the late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist in front of him, the Spirit Fox number 1's face darkened. He said in a low voice, I see that it was not easy for you to reach the late-stage Yin-Yang realm. I don't want to fight you. Die. Although he was controlled by Ning Yu's heart demon pill, the alchemy lord still had his own consciousness. He was already feeling aggrieved. Now that he heard Spirit Fox number 1's mockery, he could not take it anymore. After receiving Ning Yu's approval, the alchemy lord immediately rushed out and started fighting with the Spirit Fox number 1. Boom! The alchemy lord and Spirit Fox number 1 were both late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artists. Every move they made was extremely powerful, to the point of being terrifying. It could be said that just the shockwaves from their fight were enough to kill an early-stage primal core martial artist. Fortunately, Ning Yu and the others were very strong. They were not afraid of the shockwaves from the fight between the alchemy lord and Spirit Fox number 1. Ning Yu, is that late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist a match for Spirit Fox number 1? Feng Zi was still rather nervous. If Spirit Fox number 1 won, the consequences would be dire. Therefore, Feng Zi was looking forward to the alchemy lord's victory. It's hard to say. Spirit Fox number 1 is from the Assassination Pavilion. If I'm not wrong, his strength is enough to rank in the top 3 of the Assassination Pavilion. Ning Yu's expression was also somewhat solemn. He said in a low voice, "Let's wait and see for now. The winner and loser is still unknown." Damn it, if I had known this, I would have entered Danwu College with Ning Yu and brought that thing out. Li Tongtian's expression was very ugly as he muttered, "I say, Li Tongtian, what are you mumbling about?" Feng Zi patted Li Tongtian's shoulder and asked, "Do you have any special voice transmission method that can communicate with the outside world?" Feng Zi did not want to place all his hopes on the alchemy lord. He turned his attention to Li Tongtian. Li Tongtian's identity had always been a mystery. Until now, Feng Zi still did not know Li Tongtian's background. Voice transmission method? Hearing Feng Zi's words, Li Tongtian's eyes lit up. He hurriedly took out a palm-sized golden paper. Voice transmission paper. Li Tongtian had just taken out the golden paper when Ning Yu exclaimed in surprise, "I didn't expect you to have a voice transmission paper." "What's a voice transmission paper?" Feng Zi asked doubtfully. Voice transmission paper, a special type of paper. There are 2 copies. Ning Yu took a deep breath and explained, "As long as you write what you want to say on the paper, then drip your essence blood on it and burn your soul power to burn it, the words will appear on the other piece of voice transmission paper." *CK, that's amazing. Feng Zi almost jumped up. This was the first time he had heard of the so-called voice transmission paper. In that case, he could carry a few copies of voice transmission paper with him in the future. Even if he met with danger, he could call for help. Don't be too naive. Ning Yu's voice rang out at the right time. The method to create a voice transmission paper is extremely complicated. Only a 7th grade pill master and above can create a voice transmission paper without sleep or rest for 49 days. That's right. The most important thing is that the method to create the voice transmission paper has been lost. Every time you use it, you have 1 less. Li Tongtian continued, "If I hadn't shamelessly asked Master for this voice transmission paper in my hand, he probably wouldn't have given it to me." The method to create the voice transmission paper has been lost? Ning Yu's heart skipped a beat as he exclaimed in surprise. 20 years ago, although the method to create the voice transmission paper was more precious, it could still be bought with a certain amount of crystals. The method to create the voice transmission paper was recorded in the Rebirth Pill Audiobook. Moreover, it was a simplified version. One only needed a few hours to create a voice transmission paper. That's right. 10 years ago, the method to create the voice transmission paper was lost. Li Tongtian nodded. He wanted to say something, but his mouth opened slightly and he looked into the distance. Bam! In midair, the fists of the Spirit Fox number 1 and the leader of the Alchemy Division collided. Immediately, both of them retreated several feet before they could stabilize themselves. However, the expression of the leader of the Alchemy Division was much worse. Chapter 500. Unafraid of a fight. I've said it before. You're no match for me. After severely injuring the Alchemist Hall leader, Spirit Fox number 1 said coldly, "I thought it wasn't easy for you to cultivate to the Yin-Yang late stage, so I wanted to spare your life. However, you don't know what's good for you. I have no choice but to get rid of you." This doesn't make sense. How could the Alchemist Hall leader be defeated so quickly? Ning Yu's face was filled with shock as he stared at the Alchemist Hall master, who was breathing weakly. His face was filled with extreme shock. The Alchemist Hall leader was the strongest person in the Corpse sect. Not only was his cultivation at the peak of the Yin-Yang late stage, but his soul power was also extremely powerful. Originally, Ning Yu thought that even if the Alchemist Hall leader couldn't kill Spirit Fox number 1, he would at least be able to injure him. However, reality was cruel. The martial artist who was injured in the end was not Spirit Fox number 1, but the Alchemist Hall leader. Ningyu, the Alchemist Hall leader, was controlled by you with 2 inner demon pills. He only has 60% of his peak strength now. Suddenly, Sun Jiangwen's voice sounded in Ningyu's mind, causing Ningyu to be slightly startled. Only 60% of his peak strength? From the looks of it, losing to Spirit Fox number 1 was understandable. By the way, Ningyu, I'm very interested in your identity now. Spirit Fox number 1, who was about to make a move, stopped and temporarily gave up on killing the Alchemist Hall leader. He turned to Ningyu and said, "To be able to make a peak yin-yang late-stage martial artist work for you, you must be the young master of some big family or sect." As one of the top 3 teams in the assassination pavilion, the Spirit Fox team had accepted many assassination missions over the years. Moreover, they were all assassinations of people with high statuses. There was no lack of young masters of big sects or big families. However, after accepting so many missions, Spirit Fox number 1 had never encountered a peak yin-yang late-stage martial artist. The one beside Ning Yu was the first. Therefore, Spirit Fox number 1 was more interested in Ning Yu's identity. "Come out." Ning Yu couldn't be bothered with Spirit Fox number 1. With a low grunt, he tossed the storage ring on his wrist over his head. Walala! In the next moment, several figures flashed out from within the storage ring. F***CK, there are actually so many people? Li Tongtian couldn't help but curse when he saw so many cultivators rushing out of the storage ring. He had thought that there would only be one martial artist at the pinnacle of the yin-yang final stage, and one martial artist at the intermediate stage of the yin-yang stage in his storage ring. Who would have thought that so many martial artists would appear now? Among these martial artists, other than the late and middle yin-yang stage martial artists, there were 3 early yin-yang stage martial artists and 1 peak primal core martial artist. Moreover, there was a red flying sword and a black dog in front of Ningyu. "Ningyu, do you think these small fries are my match?" Although Spirit Fox number 1 was extremely shocked, he did not show it. Instead, he said sinisterly, "I can even kill a peak late-stage yin-yang realm martial artist, let alone these low-level martial artists." Also, at this point, Spirit Fox number 1 paused for a moment before he turned to look at the Dark Emperor. He smiled and said, "It's one thing for you to find some people, but why did you find a dog?" F***CKU. The Dark Emperor had a bad temper. The one thing he could not tolerate the most was people calling him a dog. Hearing Spirit Fox number 1's words, the Dark Emperor cursed out loud. However, the Dark Emperor knew his own limits. He knew that he was no match for Spirit Fox number 1, so he did not take the initiative to attack. It's one thing for a human to be arrogant, but a dog is just as arrogant. Spirit Fox number 1's face darkened instantly. Being insulted by a dog was something that he could not tolerate no matter what. Swoosh! In the next moment, Spirit Fox number 1 dashed out. His body was like a sharp sword as he charged straight at the Dark Emperor. "Oh no, Wang Haiba, hurry up and attack." Seeing Spirit Fox number 1 charging at the Dark Emperor, Ning Yu's expression changed and he hurriedly said, "Stop Spirit Fox number 1!" At all costs. In the end, Ning Yu added another sentence. The Dark Emperor's cultivation was only at the peak of the primal core realm. Although he could fight against a martial artist at the early stage of the yin-yang realm, he would only be able to kill a martial artist at the peak of the advanced stage of the yin-yang realm. Swoosh! Wang Haiba and the rest did not dare to delay, and immediately rushed out to block the Dark Emperor. "All of you, get out of my way." At this moment, Spirit Fox number 1 was like an enraged bull. He had no intention of slowing down as he clenched his fists and fought with Wang Haiba and the rest. Bang! After all, Spirit Fox number 1 was a martial artist at the peak of the advanced stage of the Yin-Yang realm. In just one round of battle, he had severely injured Ma Wei, who was at the early stage of the Yin-Yang realm, and his body was sent flying. Spirit Fox number 1 did not stop after his successful attack. He continued to attack. Ning Yu, we can't go on like this. We have to think of a countermeasure. Seeing that Wang Haiba and the rest were gradually losing, Feng Zi said anxiously, I do have a countermeasure, but it depends on whether you are compatible or not. Ning Yu said in a low voice. Compatible? How can I not be compatible? Feng Zi said hurriedly. Even if you ask me to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames, I will not refuse. I will not ask you to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames. Ning Yu shook his head and said solemnly, Do you still remember Spirit Fox number 5? Spirit Fox number 5? Of course I remember. Feng Zi was stunned at first, then said, Whether or not we can seriously injure or even kill Spirit Fox number 1 depends on you. Ning Yu whispered in Feng Zi's ear. Don't worry, I promise to complete the mission. Hearing Ning Yu's whisper, Feng Zi's expression became very solemn as he said in a low voice, Li Tongtian, are you interested in exchanging a few blows with Spirit Fox number 1? After instructing Feng Zi, Ning Yu turned to Li Tongtian and asked, Why not? Li Tongtian was also full of heroic spirit as he shouted. All right. Ning Yu glanced at Li Tongtian, then with the red demon sword in his hand, his body turned into a shadow and immediately rushed out. As for Li Tongtian, he reached into his clothes and took out a silver-white flying sword. Sky-class. The silver-white flying sword in Li Tongtian's hand had reached the level of sky-class. Pa! Pa! However, before Ning Yu and Li Tongtian could join the battle, they heard two muffled sounds. It was obvious that the remaining two Yin-Yang initial stage warriors had only been able to withstand one blow from the Spirit Fox number 1 before they were sent flying several feet away. In the short span of a minute, 3 Yin-Yang early stage martial artists had already been defeated. Now, on Ning Yu's side, only Wang Haiba of the intermediate stage of Yin-Yang, Sun Jiangwen of the pinnacle of Primal Core, Li Tongtian of the pinnacle of Primal Core, Ning Yu of the pinnacle of True Martial Realm, and the Dark Emperor of the pinnacle of Primal Core. The Lord of the Alchemy Hall had suffered serious injuries and would take some time to recover. Ning Yu, hand over the storage ring in your hand, and I can leave your corpse intact. Chapter 501. Trying to capture him alive. You want my storage ring? Let's see if you have what it takes. Hearing Spirit Fox number 1's threatening words, Ning Yu snorted coldly and waved the red demon's sword in his hand. Solitaire. Following Ning Yu's shout, a sword wave as thick as a waist appeared in the air and slashed at Spirit Fox number 1. Chi! Chi! The sword wave was so fast that it created a sizzling sound as it rubbed against the air. The power of the sword wave, this time, seems to be much stronger than before. Spirit Fox number 1 was slightly surprised when he felt the majestic primordial chi in the sword wave. Compared to the first sword wave, the power of the sword wave this time was much stronger. No wonder. It's the amplification effect of the flying sword in my hand. Suddenly, Spirit Fox number 1 raised his eyebrows. He seemed to have noticed something unusual about the flying sword in Ning Yu's hand. The first time Ning Yu used solitaire, he used a lower-grade heaven flying sword. This time he used solitaire, and the flying sword he used was at least a higher-grade heaven flying sword. In fact, the red flying sword in Ning Yu's hand could be a king-grade flying sword. A king-grade flying sword was a rare treasure even in Spirit Fox number 1's hand. Swoosh! However, while Spirit Fox number 1 was in a daze, the huge sword wave that Ning Yu had unleashed had already arrived in front of him and was aimed at his head. Humph! Child's play. Spirit Fox number 1 was indeed a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. He reacted quickly. He made a grabbing motion in the air with his right hand. In an instant, a cold light shot out and collided with Gu Jianbo. Boom! A rumbling sound rang out, and then the cold light and the sword wave dissipated in unison. Not bad, not bad. This time, the sword wave was able to withstand 20% of my strength. Not bad indeed. Spirit Fox number 1 laughed after the attack. Swoosh! Seeing Ning Yu and Spirit Fox number 1 fighting, Li Tongtian did not stay idle. He rose from the ground and infused his primordial qi into the silver-white flying sword in his hand. Then he charged straight at Spirit Fox number 1. Humph! If a tiger doesn't show its might, you'll think I'm a sick cat. Seeing that Li Tongtian was about to attack him, Spirit Fox number 1's face turned extremely ugly. It was one thing for Ning Yu to attack him. After all, Ning Yu's strength was clear for all to see. But where did Li Tongtian get his courage from? He only needed to use 20% of his strength to defeat or even kill a mere peak primal core practitioner. Bang! As expected, Li Tongtian's attack was easily dodged by the Spirit Fox number 1. Then, the Spirit Fox number 1 raised its right leg and kicked Li Tongtian's buttocks. The searing pain from his buttocks sent Li Tongtian flying several feet away. He fell flat on his face and fainted. 3 more minutes. Hold on for another 3 minutes. Ning Yu turned to look at Feng Zi, who was already nearing Spirit Fox number 5. He began to communicate with Sun Jiangwen and the rest. No matter what, you have to hold on for 3 more minutes. Understood? Ning Yu's words rang in his mind. Sun Jiangwen gritted his teeth and charged at Spirit Fox number 1. Bang! However, Sun Jiangwen was only a peak primal core practitioner after all. Even though his soul power was at the peak of the 7th grade, he could only withstand 2 blows from Spirit Fox number 1 before being defeated. 30 seconds. Sun Jiangwen had used his life to delay for 30 seconds. Following that, Wang Haiba and Spirit Fox number 1 engaged in a fierce battle. Wang Haiba's cultivation was at the middle stage of the yin-yang stage. Compared to Sun Jiangwen, he could hold on for a longer time. 1 minute. Wang Haiba held on for a full minute before being defeated. 1.5 minutes left. Up until now, the only people on Ning Yu's side who could still fight were Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor. The rest had all been defeated. Relying solely on Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor to hold on for 2 minutes was too difficult. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Moreover, Spirit Fox number 1 had already noticed Feng Zi's actions, not far away. His face darkened completely. He berated in a low voice, I advise you to release Spirit Fox number 5 immediately. Otherwise, I will turn all of you into ashes. Ha ha ha, you want me to release Spirit Fox number 5? Feng Zi stepped on Spirit Fox number 5's neck with his ankle and laughed. Kneel down and kowtow to me twice. Maybe I will be merciful and release Spirit Fox number 5. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. You're courting death. Spirit Fox number 1 clenched his fists tightly. In the next moment, he rose from the ground. His body turned into an afterimage as he charged straight at Feng Zi. Dark Emperor, go. Seeing that Spirit Fox number 1 had given up on him and turned to attack Feng Zi, Ning Yu did not dare to delay. He leaped up and blocked Spirit Fox number 1 in midair. Get out of my way. At this moment, Spirit Fox number 1 was on the verge of exploding with rage. He was in a hurry to save Spirit Fox number 5. Therefore, when he saw Ning Yu blocking in front of him, he immediately threw a punch. At this critical moment, Ning Yu hurriedly channeled all the energy from the 7 illusory golden cores in his sea of consciousness into his fist. It collided with Spirit Fox number 1's fist. Bam! When the 2 fists collided, Ning Yu felt a huge force coming from his fist, causing him to feel a metallic taste in his throat. Fortunately, there were 7 illusory golden cores in Ning Yu's sea of consciousness. Otherwise, Spirit Fox number one's punch alone would have turned him into ashes. This was because Spirit Fox number one had used 80% of his strength. Even so, Ningyu's body was sent flying and crashed heavily into a towering tree. Crack! The huge tree was almost snapped in half. On the other hand, Ningyu's face was pale and his breathing had dropped to a freezing point. If you want to save Spirit Fox number 5, you have to ask for my permission first. At this point, the Dark Emperor knew that he had to step forward. At the very least, he had to block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute. The Dark Emperor was only at the pinnacle of the Primal Core stage. If he wanted to block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute, there was only one way, and that was to transform into his original form, the purple gold heaven swallowing hound. Whoosh! In midair, the Dark Emperor's body suddenly enlarged and a pair of purple gold wings appeared on his back. The king of the heaven swallowing hound tribe, the purple gold heaven swallowing hound. The moment the Dark Emperor transformed into his original form, Spirit Fox number 1 was stunned. After a short moment of shock, Spirit Fox number 1's face lit up with joy. Compared to the purple gold heaven swallowing hound, Spirit Fox number 5's safety was not that important. Capture him alive! In an instant, an idea popped into Spirit Fox number 1's mind. Capture him alive! There was a huge difference in value between a dead and alive purple gold heaven swallowing hound. Accepting this mission was the right choice. As long as I can capture you alive, even if I am the only one left in the Spirit Fox team, it will be worth it. The more Spirit Fox number 1 thought about it, the more excited he became. In the end, he could not help but laugh out loud. Sha sha! The Dark Emperor did not care if Spirit Fox number 1 was excited or not. His mission was to block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute. If he could block Spirit Fox number 1 for a minute, that would be the best. Purple gold heaven swallowing hound. Are you going to surrender, or do you want me to attack you first? Chapter 502. Explosion. It's not impossible for me to surrender, but you have to at least show some sincerity, right? The Dark Emperor rolled his eyes, spread out his hands, and said, I can't possibly surrender just because of your words. If that's the case, I'll lose too much face. Hee hee, a dog wants to save face. What a joke. Spirit Fox number 1 smiled and said, from Spirit Fox number 1's point of view, the reason why he didn't want to use force was because he was afraid that the Dark Emperor would self-destruct in a moment of desperation. Spirit Fox number 1 knew that the heaven-swallowing dog could self-destruct at any time. He was afraid that if he forced the purple gold heaven-swallowing dog in front of him, it might self-destruct. At that time, he would really go for wool and come home shorn. Not only did he fail to save Spirit Fox number 5, he also failed to capture the purple gold heaven-swallowing dog. However, when he saw that the Dark Emperor had no intention of self-destructing, he relaxed a little and decided to make a move himself, hoping to quickly subdue the Dark Emperor. Swish! Spirit Fox number 1 was not an indecisive person. He attacked as soon as he said he would. In the blink of an eye, he arrived beside the Dark Emperor. His hands were like pincers as he grabbed the pair of purple gold wings on the Dark Emperor's back. Roar! Looking at Spirit Fox number 1 who was approaching him, the Dark Emperor's eyes turned cold. He then opened his mouth and let out a loud roar. How can a mere dog roar stop me? Spirit Fox number 1 seemed to have guessed what the Dark Emperor was going to do. His ears were slightly bent and blocked his ears, preventing him from hearing anything from the outside world. 30 seconds left. Seeing that the roar was useless, the Dark Emperor turned around and ran. As a purple gold heaven swallowing dog, the Dark Emperor's speed was not slow. The purple gold wings on his back flapped quickly, and he pulled away from Spirit Fox number 1 in an instant. Trying to run? It's not that easy. The Dark Emperor did not know how to appreciate favors, causing Spirit Fox number 1 to feel very embarrassed. After all, he had spoken for so long. But in the end, the Dark Emperor treated it like he was farting. Swoosh! After a cold snort, Spirit Fox number 1 raised his speed to the limit and chased after the Dark Emperor. Although the Dark Emperor was very fast, Spirit Fox number 1 was even faster. In just 20 seconds, the Dark Emperor was caught. However, the Dark Emperor had already stopped beside Ningyu. At the same time, he looked at Spirit Fox number 1 provocatively and said, "Spirit Fox number 1, don't you feel tired after chasing me for so long? If you're tired, you can stop and rest, then we'll continue." Humph! You're about to die, yet you still dare to be stubborn. The ignorant are truly fearless. Spirit Fox number 1 was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. How could he possibly stop to rest? After a cold snort, Li Linghu tore through the void and appeared beside the Dark Emperor. She clenched her right fist and punched the Dark Emperor's chest. Spirit Fox number 1 had used 80% of his strength in this punch. It was to subdue the Dark Emperor and prevent any unforeseen events from happening. Looking at the fist that was gradually expanding in his eyes, the Dark Emperor's eyes were filled with shock and despair. Kacha! However, what the Dark Emperor was worried about did not happen. Instead, a clear and melodious voice, accompanied by a pig-like scream, rang out in his ears. What's going on? The Dark Emperor's eyes moved and finally fixed on the two figures in front of him. In front of him stood two figures. The one closest to him was Ningyu, and the other was naturally Spirit Fox number 1. At this moment, Spirit Fox number 1's face was extremely distorted. What surprised the Dark Emperor was not Spirit Fox number 1's distorted face, but his bloodied right hand. The branch of the Tree of World is indeed effective. Even someone as strong as Spirit Fox number 1 has suffered. Just as Spirit Fox number 1's fist was about to hit the Dark Emperor, Ningyu remembered that he had the branch of the Tree of World on him. He moved quickly and blocked the fatal blow for the Dark Emperor. Ningyu was not a fool. He knew that he was no match for Spirit Fox number 1. Therefore, he did not take the attack head-on. Instead, he quietly summoned the Tree of World and collided head-on with Spirit Fox number 1's fist. Ningyu was very satisfied with the result. The bones in Spirit Fox number 1's right hand were almost completely broken. It was even more miserable than Wang Haibao's. "Ningyu, it's done!" At this moment, Feng Zi, who was not far away, shouted. Hearing Feng Zi's words, Ningyu's face revealed a look of ecstasy. However, Ningyu had not lost his mind. He knew that Spirit Fox number 1 still had extremely strong combat strength. He was just too busy treating the injuries on his palm to care about anything else. Once Spirit Fox number 1 was freed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, Ningyu threw the storage ring into the air and said in a deep voice, "Hurry up and enter the storage ring. Leave the rest to me." Understood. Feng Zi and the rest were not fools. They knew that they would not be able to help Ningyu, even if they stayed. Therefore, they immediately jumped up and rushed towards the storage ring. In just a few seconds, including Wang Haibao and the Dark Emperor, all the warriors had entered the storage ring to hide. Right now, the only warriors left in this area were Ningyu, Spirit Fox number 1, Spirit Fox number 5, Li Tongtian, who was severely injured and unconscious, and Ouyang Hai and the rest who were dead. Just as the Dark Emperor and the rest entered the storage ring, Ningyu saw Spirit Fox number 1 gritting his teeth, raising his left hand and chopping off his right wrist. Swoosh! When Spirit Fox No. 1 chopped off his wrist, Ningyu did not stay idle. He leaped up and did not even hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. In an instant, he appeared beside Spirit Fox number 5. Swoosh! Just as Ningyu appeared beside Spirit Fox number 5, Spirit Fox number 1 caught up. Spirit Fox number 1, if you don't want him to die, I advise you not to come over. Ningyu placed the Red Devil Sword on Spirit Fox number 5's neck and said coldly, I want you to die." However, Spirit Fox number 1 did not listen to Ningyu's words at all. His face was ferocious as he punched towards Ningyu's head with a violent gust of wind. Spirit Fox number 1's punch was heavy, and he used 100% of his strength to kill Ningyu in one blow. At this point, Spirit Fox number 1 had already thought things through. There was no need to hold back anymore. He could only kill Ningyu forcefully. That way, nothing else would happen. Impulsiveness is the devil. This saying is true. However, when Spirit Fox number 1's fist was 30 centimeters away from Ningyu's head, Ningyu's lips curled into a smile, and he said, "Goodbye, Spirit Fox number 1. This time I won't. Damn it." Hearing Ningyu's words, the Spirit Fox number 1 chose to ignore him. However, before he could finish his sentence, his expression changed greatly, and he revealed a terrified expression once again. This was because he saw Ningyu's palm landing heavily on Spirit Fox number 5's head. Rumble. In the next moment, an earth-shattering explosion resounded in the area. Oh no, it's the self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. At the same time, in a forest not far away, a few martial artists' expressions changed. They instantly increased their speed to the maximum and flew towards Ningyu. If Ningyu was here, he would definitely realize that he was very familiar with one of the martial artists. Chapter 503. Black Pot Rumble. The self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist was extremely powerful, especially at the center of the explosion. It was so powerful that it was enough to destroy a true realm martial artist in an instant. Ningyu wasn't a fool. He naturally wouldn't put himself in danger. Swoosh! The instant Spirit Fox number 5 exploded, Ningyu grabbed Ouyang Hai, who was beside him, and entered his storage ring. Uft! As for Spirit Fox number 1, he was not so lucky. His right hand was already severely injured. Now that he was caught off guard by Spirit Fox number 5's self-destruction, the result was obvious. The aftermath of the explosion hit Spirit Fox number 1, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His clothes were stained red. Uft! Although Li Tongtian was far away from the center of the explosion, he was still affected. Fortunately, Li Tongtian woke up at the critical moment. He gathered all his primordial qi around his body and set up a primordial qi shield. Otherwise, this shockwave alone would have been enough to kill him in his heavily injured state. Swoosh! When the aftermath of the explosion disappeared, Ningyu grabbed Ouyang Hai and dashed out of the storage ring. Ningyu and Ouyang Hai's clothes were tattered, and there were even a few burns on their skin. Spirit Fox number 1, who was breathing weakly not far away, looked similar to Ningyu and Ouyang Hai. Those who did not know the inside story would think that they had experienced the self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. Go! When Ningyu saw Spirit Fox number 1 struggling to even stand up, the corners of his lips curled up. With a flick of his wrist, a trace of soul power shot out and headed straight for Spirit Fox number 1. The Spirit Fox number 1's eyes flashed with terror as it stared at the soul power that was rushing towards it. It wanted to block the attack, but it lacked the strength to do so. Without a doubt, the soul force entered Spirit Fox number 1's sea of consciousness and lay dormant. Phew! After doing all this, Ningyu let out a long breath and murmured, although the space in the storage ring was almost destroyed, the reward was huge. If it weren't for Sun Jiangwen and the Dark Emperor supporting the self-destruction of an early-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist, the storage ring would have been shattered long ago. As it turned out, Ningyu's gamble was right. Spirit Fox. Oh no. However, just as Ningyu was about to say something, his expression changed drastically. This was because his keen perception could tell that there were several cultivators rushing over from not too far away from this area. From these cultivators, Ningyu discovered an extremely familiar aura. Since Old Tan is here, then the rest of the martial artists must be from the royal family. Ning Yu rolled his eyes. Then he exerted some force on his ankle and kicked Ouyang Hai to the foot of Spirit Fox number 1. Then, Ning Yu's eyes rolled back and he fell backward. Looking at Ouyang Hai at his feet, Spirit Fox number 1's mouth gaped open, his face filled with confusion. Voila! Just as Spirit Fox number 1's face was filled with confusion, several figures approached from afar. In an instant, they appeared in the area. Spirit Fox number 1, hurry up and release the third prince. Old Tan shouted as soon as he appeared. Obviously, Old Tan saw Ouyang Hai at the foot of Spirit Fox number 1. Stop talking nonsense with him. Attack! Next to Old Tan, an elder of late-stage Yin Yang realm rushed out with a cold look in his eyes. This late-stage Yin Yang realm elder was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared next to Spirit Fox number 1. Bang! Bang! 2 consecutive punches were thrown. One landed on Spirit Fox number 1's chest, while the other landed on his head. Spirit Fox number 1 was already severely injured and on the verge of death. Now that he was hit by 2 powerful punches, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Oh no, the third prince has been killed! After forcing Spirit Fox number 1 to retreat, the elder of late-stage Yin Yang realm focused his perception on Ouyang Hai. His face instantly turned gloomy. As a late-stage Yin Yang realm martial artist, he naturally knew that Ouyang Hai could not be more dead. Even if God came, he would not be able to save Ouyang Hai. What? The third prince has been killed. Hearing the words of the late-stage Yin Yang realm elder, Old Tan's expression changed and his heart sank. His mission this time was to escort the third prince to Shishan City. Now that the third prince had been killed, he would definitely be held responsible. One could imagine that Ouyang Ba would definitely not let him off when they returned to the capital. Now that things have come to this, there's no turning back. On the other side, a middle-stage Yin Yang realm middle-aged man said, "The only thing we can do now is to bring Spirit Fox number 1 back to the capital and interrogate the person who issued this mission." Yes, yes, bring Spirit Fox number 1 back to the capital. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, Old Tan seemed to have grasped onto a life-saving straw and said hurriedly, "The assassination pavilion has even mobilized the Spirit Fox team. This must be a premeditated murder. There are 2 survivors here." Suddenly, the late-stage Yin Yang realm martial artist said, "Should we finish them off as well?" Hearing this, Old Tan shifted his gaze over. It's Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. When he saw the 2 familiar figures lying on the ground, Old Tan was slightly stunned and then asked in confusion, "Why aren't the 2 of them dead? Could this matter be related to them?" That shouldn't be possible. The late-stage Yin Yang realm martial artist shook his head and pointed at Ning Yu. This martial artist's aura is weak, and even his consciousness is in a mess. From this, we can see that he was also severely injured in the explosion. He was just lucky that he didn't die on the spot. As for Li Tongtian, he's not much better. Apart from his broken ribs, he has also ruptured several major tendons and veins. If we don't treat him in time, I'm afraid he won't live past tomorrow. Wan Jingtian, we have to find someone to take the blame, right? Otherwise, when we meet the Emperor, Old Tan will definitely suffer. The middle-aged man frowned. That's true. The late-stage Yin Yang realm martial artist called Wan Jingtian pondered for a moment before saying, "This is a heavy responsibility. I'm afraid one person won't be able to take it. In my opinion, let the 2 of them take the blame. Even so, I'm afraid that the Emperor won't believe me." Old Tan looked worried. With Fong Ming and me speaking up for you, the Emperor will definitely believe you." Wan Jingtian laughed. "That's right. If we add Spirit Fox number 1's accusations, then the 2 of them will have to take the blame even if they don't want to." Fong Ming said sinisterly, "I can't thank you enough. If I can get through this, I'll do anything for you 2 in the future." Old Ten quickly cupped his fists and said solemnly, "It's still too early to talk about this. The most important thing now is to bring the three of them back to the capital." Wan Jingtian waved his hand, then grabbed Spirit Fox number 1 and Ouyang Hai and flew toward the capital. Behind him, Fong Ming carried Ningyu and followed closely. Chapter 504. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. In the forest that was not too dense, a few silhouettes dashed past. In order not to cause any trouble, Old Tan and the rest did not take the main road. Instead, they took a shortcut to the capital. The death of the third prince was a big deal. Without the emperor's permission, Old Tan and the rest did not dare to announce it. Taking a shortcut to the capital was the best choice. You want me to be the scapegoat? Not so easy. Ningyu had heard every single word of the conversation between Old Tan, Wan Jingtian, and the rest. Ningyu knew very well that Ouyang Ba would be furious when he found out that Ouyang Hai was killed. By then it was not impossible for him to order Fong Ping to be killed. Luckily, I left a trace of soul force in Spirit Fox number 1's consciousness. Otherwise, this matter would be tricky, and Li Tongtian's injuries would be difficult to deal with. Ningyu rolled his eyes and came up with a plan. After all, Li Tongtian's injuries could not be delayed for long. If it came down to it, Ningyu decided to take action forcefully. No matter what, he could not let Li Tongtian die. After that, Ningyu disguised himself carefully to prevent Fong Ming from noticing anything. After all, Fong Ming was an intermediate yin-yang state martial artist. His perception was extremely strong. If he found out that his injuries were fake, the consequences would be dire. Swoosh! Fong Ming and the rest were very fast. In just an hour, they arrived at the capital. However, it was not the main gate, but the side gate. We'll enter the capital in batches later. I'll bring Spirit Fox number 1 and Ouyang Hai to meet the emperor first. You guys find a place to rest. At the side gate, Wan Jingtian was still more cautious. He said in a deep voice, "Wait for the emperor to calm down before you guys meet him." Understood. Fong Ming and Old Tan replied in unison. Old Tan, in particular, cast a grateful look at Wan Jingtian. One could imagine how furious Ouyang Ba would be when he saw that Ouyang Hai was killed. If Old Tan was here at this moment, he would most likely be in trouble. Wan Jingtian's actions were clearly to give Elder Tan some buffer time. To be precise, he had saved his life. I will communicate with the emperor and tell him that Ningyu and Li Tongtian have already escaped and that I have sent the two of you to hunt them down. Wan Jingtian waved his hand, and in a flash he entered the capital. Old Tan, let's go. Watching Wan Jingtian leave, Fong Ming took a step forward, intending to enter the capital. However, Fong Ming hadn't even taken a few steps when Old Tan's voice resounded in his ears. Fong Ming, I hope you can help me one more time. Elder Tan looked troubled. After hesitating for a while, he said, Li Tongtian can't die. I hope that you can personally join up his meridians. Oh, why must Li Tongtian not die? Fong Ming's brows twitched when he heard Old Tan's words. From Fong Ming's point of view, Ningyu and Li Tongtian were no different. They were both ordinary genius martial artists. It was just that one of them had reached the pinnacle of the primal core realm, while the other was merely at the pinnacle of the true martial realm. From what Old Tan had said, it seemed like there was more to it than met the eye. Li Tongtian can't die. Old Tan took a deep breath and said, Although Ningyu is a core disciple of Danwu College's Sacred College, it will be troublesome if he dies, but it won't be too big of a deal. It won't be enough to cause a war between Danwu College and the royal family. Li Tongtian is different. His identity is more special. If he dies in our hands, it will most likely cause a war between the royal family and Danwu College. Gasp! Old Tan's solemn words caused Fong Ming to gasp as he asked, It's that serious? Old Tan nodded and said in a low voice, It is indeed that serious. In fact, it might be even more serious than that. What is Li Tongtian's identity? At this point, Fang Ming was very curious about Li Tongtian's identity. He has a close relationship with a big shot from Danwu College. After saying this, Old Ten seemed to be afraid that Fang Ming would misunderstand, so he added, "This is all I know." No wonder Li Tongtian was able to scare away Qian, who was in the intermediate stage of Yinyang realm, with just a black token back in the palace. Although Ning Yu's eyes were tightly shut, he heard the conversation between Old Tan and Fang Ming clearly, especially when he heard that Li Tongtian's identity was special. Ning Yu couldn't help but recall the scene back in the palace. Qian, who was already furious at first. Who would have thought that Li Tongtian's identity would scare him away with just a token? At that time, Ning Yu guessed that Li Tongtian's identity was not simple. Since they want to treat Li Tongtian, I'll wait. Originally, Ning Yu had planned to forcefully take action. Now, it seemed like he could wait a little longer. Fang Ming, not only has your cultivation reached the intermediate stage of Yinyang realm, but your soul force has also reached the early stage of 7th grade. Just as Ning Yu was deep in thought, Old Tan's voice sounded again. As long as you take action, I believe you will be able to treat Li Tongtian in no time. I can only say that I will do my best. A few of Li Tongtian's main tendons and meridians have been severed. If we don't want to leave any side effects, we will need a martial artist whose soul force has reached the peak of 7th grade. Fang Ming said in a low voice, reconnecting the tendons and meridians cannot be sloppy. There are too many people in the capital and it will inevitably attract attention. In my opinion, it's better to leave the capital and find a quiet place with fewer people to help Li Tongtian reconnect his tendons and meridians. What if the emperor summons us? Old Tan was still a little worried. You don't have to worry about this. Wan Jingtian said that he sent us to hunt down Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. It's reasonable for us to delay our return to the capital, Fang Ming said. The moment he said reasonable, Fang Ming picked up Ning Yu, turned around and dashed into the distance. Old Tan didn't dare to delay. He carried Li Tongtian and followed behind Fang Ming. Sha! After flying for a full hour, Fang Ming and Old Tan finally stopped in a wide open space. Old Tan put Li Tongtian down. Go and stand guard for me. While I'm treating Li Tongtian, don't let anyone disturb me. Fang Ming casually threw Ning Yu to the side and said to Old Tan, I will need about 2 hours. In other words, within these 2 hours no one, including you, can disturb me. Otherwise, all our efforts will be in vain. Understood. Old Tan knew that Li Tongtian couldn't die. Therefore, after hearing Fang Ming's words, he carefully put Li Tongtian down and went to stand guard at a distance, willingly. Whoosh! Although Old Tan was standing guard at a distance, Fang Ming was still a little worried. With a flick of his sleeve, a vigorous wave of Yuan Qi swept out and formed a Yuan Qi barrier around them. The area covered by this Yuan Qi barrier was relatively large, even surrounding Ning Yu. Reconnecting the tendons and meridians was a major project. Fang Ming didn't dare to be sloppy. After the Yuan Qi barrier was set up, Fang Ming separated a bit of soul force into Li Tongtian's body and began to examine it carefully. Chapter 505. Who's scheming against whom? Fang Ming's soul power has reached the early 7th grade. He should be able to stabilize Li Tongtian's condition. Ning Yu's eyes turned solemn as he stared at Li Tongtian, who was breathing weakly. Li Tongtian's face turned pale as a few of his main meridians were ruptured. If Li Tongtian had not sealed his meridians with his soul power, he would have died by now. Sun Jiangwen, how much longer do you and the leader of the Hall of Alchemy need to recover? With the strength of Fang Ming's soul power, it was almost impossible for him to heal Li Tongtian. Therefore, Ning Yu decided to ask Sun Jiangwen and the leader of the Hall of Alchemy for help. However, Sun Jiangwen and the leader of the Hall of Alchemy were injured during the battle with Spirit Fox No. 1 and had yet to recover. Half an hour. Give us another half an hour. Soon Jiang Wen replied in the storage ring. Hurry up. Li Tongtian's condition cannot be delayed for too long. Otherwise, there might be repercussions. Ning Yu said in a deep voice. Crack. Meanwhile, in the capital, in the palace, in a certain luxurious room, a clear voice mixed with a gloomy and cold voice resounded. Investigate. We must get to the bottom of this matter. Don't let any suspicious person go. Looking at the familiar figure lying in front of him, Ouyang-ba rose to his feet and smashed the chair he was sitting on into pieces. He said in a cold voice, I'd rather kill 1,000 innocent people than let a single one go. Ouyang-ba was extremely furious at this moment. He did not expect Ouyang Hai to deliver such a grievous news not long after he left the capital. The assassination pavilion really ate a bear's heart and a leopard's gall to actually dare to provoke the emperor. Looking at the dying spirit fox number 1, Ouyang-ba said in a cold voice, Pass down my order. Destroy the assassination pavilion. Your Majesty, you mustn't do that. Hearing Ouyang-ba's words, Wan Jingtian hurriedly said, It's a troubled time now. The corpse sect is eyeing the capital covetously. If we attack the assassination pavilion now, it's very likely that the corpse sect will take advantage of it. Ouyang-ba's face turned gloomy, and he remained silent. Seeing that Ouyang-ba did not respond, Wan Jingtian continued, The most important thing now is to find the person who issued the mission in the assassination pavilion. As for the debt with the assassination pavilion, we can settle it slowly in the future. Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and investigate. Ouyang-ba berated. Your Majesty, there is some progress in the matter. Wan Jingtian said. All the signs point to 2 people. Who? Ouyang-ba asked. Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. Wan Jingtian replied. The 2 of them, this time, Ouyang-ba did not fly into a rage. Instead, he calmed down. Although Ouyang-ba was enraged, he did not lose his rationality. If someone else had gone to the assassination pavilion to issue a mission, he might have believed it. However, he would never believe that it was Ning Yu and Li Tongtian. After all, Ning Yu and Li Tongtian were smart people. There was no reason for them to go against the royal family. After pondering for a moment, Ouyang-ba said, Pry open spirit fox number 1's mouth. I want to know who issued the mission. Understood. Wan Jingtian had been waiting for this moment. On the way here, he had already discussed it with spirit fox number 1. As long as spirit fox number 1 insisted that it was Ning Yu and Li Tongtian who issued the mission, he would think of a way to save spirit fox number 1's life. Although they had discussed it, they still had to put on an act. Therefore, Wan Jingtian raised his right leg and gave spirit fox number 1 a heavy kick. He then yelled coldly, Spirit fox number 1, this is your only chance to live. Tell me who issued the mission. Whoosh! As soon as Wan Jingtian's foot landed on spirit fox number 1's body, Ning Yu, who was in the dense forest outside the capital, had a cold look in his eyes. Humph! Trying to frame me? It's not that easy. Ning Yu let out a cold harumph. He then closed his eyes and began to communicate with the soul force in spirit fox number 1's knowledge sea. At this moment, the soul force that Ning Yu had left in spirit fox number 1's knowledge sea was playing a crucial role. This was because it could control spirit fox number 1's thoughts. The severely injured spirit fox number 1's thoughts were no longer under his control. It was completely under Ning Yu's control. You want me to tell you who issued the mission? Uft. Spirit fox number 1's eyes were filled with malice as he said darkly, Hee, you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Wan Jingtian admired spirit fox number 1's acting skills. This was because they had not discussed this beforehand. Since spirit fox number 1 was putting in so much effort, Wan Jingtian had to cooperate. Crack! However, Wan Jingtian's way of cooperating was a little special. He kicked spirit fox number 1's knee and broke it. F***CKU. Even if you kill me, I won't tell you who issued the mission. Spirit Fox number 1 did not compromise. Instead, his eyes turned even colder. Do you think I won't dare to kill you? Wan Jingtian took a step forward and said darkly. At this moment, Wan Jingtian even wanted to give Spirit Fox number 1 a thumbs up. This cooperation was really amazing. The more Spirit Fox number 1 resisted, the more Ouyingba would believe him when he mentioned that Ningyu and Li Tongtian had issued the mission. Spirit Fox number 1, it's fine if you don't tell me. I can send someone to find out who issued the mission. At this moment, Ouyingba spoke in a deep voice. I can see that you are a talent. I want to give you a chance to make up for your mistakes. If you continue to be stubborn, I don't mind killing you on the spot. As soon as he said the word kill, Ouyingba unleashed his aura and pressed it down on Spirit Fox number 1. Uft! Under the pressure of Ouyingba's aura, Spirit Fox number 1 spat out a mouthful of blood. His already pale face turned even paler. Spirit Fox number 1, this is your last chance. Tell me who issued the mission. What the F***CK are you talking about? Wan Jingtian's lips curled into an unnoticeable smile. However, before he could finish his sentence, his eyes widened and his face filled with confusion. It was Tai Sheng and Bao Ming who issued the mission at the Assassin Pavilion. Spirit Fox number 1 wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes looked unnatural, but he still said, After that, I sent someone to follow them. In the end, the martial artists who contacted them were Fong Ming and Old Tan. Actually, it was no wonder that Wan Jingtian was confused. This was because Spirit Fox number 1's words were completely different from what he had discussed with him. Slander, this is all slander. After a brief moment of confusion, Wan Jingtian quickly explained to Ouyingba, I swear on my honor that this was not done by Fong Ming and Old Tan. You swear on your honor? You're not a good person either. You've known about this for a long time. Spirit Fox number 1 laughed sinisterly. If I'm not mistaken, Fong Ming and Old Tan should have caught up to Ningyu and Li Tongtian. I'm guessing that they are currently fighting. Wan Jingtian, what's going on? Why haven't Old Tan and Fong Ming returned to see me? Chapter 506. Courting Death, Your Majesty. You can't trust the words of the number 1 Spirit Fox. He's slandering me. Wan Jingtian had never expected Ningyu to be controlling the number 1 Spirit Fox. The words of the number 1 Spirit Fox were exactly what Ningyu wanted to say. Your Majesty, Wan Jingtian blurted out. Answer me. Ouyingba interrupted Wan Jingtian and said coldly. It would have been better if Wan Jingtian had not explained himself. As soon as he did, Ouyingba became even more suspicious of him. Old Tan and Fong Ming have indeed gone after Ningyu and the rest. Wan Jingtian answered honestly when he saw that Ouyingba was enraged. Wan Jingtian glared at the number 1 Spirit Fox as he spoke. At that moment, Wan Jingtian could not wait to kill the number 1 Spirit Fox right away. He had worked so hard and ended up being bitten by the number 1 Spirit Fox. Wan Jingtian was well aware that he could not show any murderous intent at that moment. Otherwise, Ouyingba would assume that something was up. Your Majesty, there's something that I'm not sure if I should say. At that instant, the voice of the number 1 Spirit Fox was heard once again, albeit hesitantly. Speak. Ouyingba said in a deep voice. The number 1 Spirit Fox is afraid that the truth will be exposed, so he left a stream of soul force in my divine sense in an attempt to control me. The number 1 Spirit Fox said while clenching his teeth. Ouyingba raised his eyebrows and discreetly sent a portion of his senses into the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense. With a single glance, Ouyingba's expression immediately darkened. He had indeed discovered a unique stream of soul force in the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense. Wan Jingtian, how do you explain the soul force in the number 1 Spirit Fox's divine sense? although he had discovered the soul force in the number 1 spirit fox's divine sense. Ouyang Ba did not make a decision. He wanted to hear Wan Jingtian's explanation first. There's my soul force in the number 1 spirit fox's divine sense? Why didn't I know about it? Wan Jingtian was slightly startled and immediately walked toward the number 1 spirit fox. As he approached the number 1 spirit fox, Wan Jingtian secretly sent a portion of his senses into the number 1 spirit fox's divine sense. This is the moment. Wan Jingtian had just unleashed his perception when Ningyu, who was in the dense forest, had a cold expression on his face. He controlled his soul power and began to wreak havoc in the spirit fox number 1 sea of consciousness. Pucci, spirit fox number 1 was already heavily damaged. How could it withstand Ningyu's torment? Without a doubt, spirit fox number 1 spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes rolled back and he died. What? The sudden death of the spirit fox number 1 caused Wan Jingtian's heart to sink. At such an important moment, spirit fox number 1 actually died. Your Majesty, Wan Jingtian knew very well that Ouyang Ba would definitely suspect him after the death of the spiritual fox number 1. Hence, he immediately tried to explain himself. Shut up. As expected, before Wan Jingtian could finish his words, Ouyang Ba said coldly, before we find out the truth, you'll stay in this room. You're not allowed to go anywhere without my permission. As he spoke, Ouyang Ba carried Ouyang Hai in his arms. After pondering for a moment, he carried spirit fox number 1 and flew out of the room. Who can tell me what the F***CK is going on? Wan Jingtian felt like his lungs were about to explode as he stared at Ouyang Ba's back. He had been thinking of ways to trick Ningyu and Li Tongtian along the way. Who would have thought that he would be tricked by spirit fox number 1 in the end? However, Wan Jingtian was not too worried. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. Ouyang Ba would definitely not be able to find out the truth. However, Wan Jingtian did not dare to leave the room. He knew very well that his cultivation level at the advanced stage of Yin-Yang realm was not enough for him to leave the palace. Ningyu had no idea that Wan Jingtian was confined to his room. After the death of spirit fox number 1, Ningyu had placed all his attention on Li Tongtian. After a period of treatment by Fang Ming, 2 of Li Tongtian's meridians had been reconnected. At this moment, Fang Ming was reconnecting Li Tongtian's 3rd meridian, which was also the most important meridian. If it was successful, Fang Ming would be able to overcome this obstacle. If it failed, Fang Ming would be in grave danger. Uft. The next moment, Li Tongtian spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His aura had dropped to the freezing point. As Fang Ming's soul power was only at the early stage of 7th grade, he had failed at the crucial moment. Whoosh! Since he had failed, Fang Ming waved his hand and removed the Yuan Qi barrier around him. Failed so quickly? Seeing that Fang Ming had removed the Yuan Qi barrier, Old Tan's figure flashed, and he came to Li Tongtian's side. However, after seeing Li Tongtian's pitiful state, Elder Tan's originally excited expression turned into one of astonishment. His mouth gaped open. I failed. Li Tongtian's main meridian is too difficult to reconnect. With the strength of my soul power, it's very difficult to reconnect it. Fang Ming shook his head and said, If I'm not wrong, Li Tongtian still has an hour to live. In other words, if we can find a martial artist whose soul power is at the peak of 7th grade within this hour, we might be able to save Li Tongtian's life. It took us an hour to get here from the capital. Where do you expect me to find a martial artist whose soul power is at the peak of 7th grade within this hour? Old Tan frowned. Since we can't find one, we might as well kill Li Tongtian and Ningyu. Fang Ming placed his palm on his neck and said coldly, Let me think about it. Killing Ningyu is fine, but killing Li Tongtian was something Old Tan was hesitant about. After all, Li Tongtian's backing was very powerful, so powerful that it was comparable to the ancestors of the royal family. What else is there to think about? Li Tongtian is about to die anyway. We're just helping him out. Fong Ming said viciously, when the time comes, we can push his death onto the Spirit Fox team. Let me think about it. Old Tan was still very worried. Li Tongtian's backing was very powerful. Old Tan was afraid that he would find out, so he did not dare to make a move. Old Tan, when did you become so submissive? Even if you don't kill Li Tongtian, he will still die. You better think carefully. I've already connected 2 of Li Tongtian's meridians. If anyone finds out, neither you nor I will have a good ending. Fong Ming continued. The only thing we can do now is to kill Li Tongtian and dispose of his corpse. Dead men tell no tales. Old Tan took a deep breath and murmured, I guess that's the only way. Swoosh! Hearing Elder Tan's words, Fong Ming raised his right hand and chopped at Li Tongtian's neck. You can only blame yourself for offending someone you shouldn't have. Old Tan's fist carried a violent gust of primal qi as he attacked Ningyu on the other side. To Old Tan and Fong Ming, killing Li Tongtian and Ningyu was perhaps the best and most correct choice. Swoosh! However, just as Old Tan reached Ningyu's side, Ningyu's eyes suddenly opened. At the same time, 3 beams of cold light shot out from the storage ring on Ningyu's wrist. One went for Fong Ming, while the other went for Li Tongtian. Chapter 507. White Token, oh no! Sensing the figure behind him, Fong Ming's expression changed drastically. Without any time to think, he retreated immediately. As a yin-yang intermediate stage martial artist, Fong Ming could naturally sense the cultivation of the martial artist behind him. Pinnacle advanced stage, yin-yang advanced stage. Although Fong Ming was puzzled as to why a pinnacle advanced stage, yin-yang advanced stage martial artist would attack him, he was no fool. He knew that he had to retreat now, or the consequences would be dire. However, Fong Ming's retreat was obviously slower. He had only taken a few steps back when the leader of the alchemy division appeared beside him. A fist brought with it a violent gust of primordial qi as it flew towards Fong Ming's head. The punch was heavy, and the primordial qi was exceptionally violent. If Fong Ming was unlucky enough to be hit by it, he would be crippled even if he did not die. Damn it! After cursing under his breath, Fong Ming had no choice but to clench his right fist and collide with the punch of the leader of the alchemy division. Crack! As the 2 fists collided, a crisp sound reverberated throughout the area. The leader of the alchemy division's eyes turned cold, and he was about to strike again. Capture him alive. I have something to ask him. Just as the leader of the alchemy division was about to strike again, Ningyu's voice rang in his ears. Slightly taken aback, he immediately changed his attack method. The leader of the alchemy division was a pinnacle advanced stage, yin-yang advanced stage martial artist. If he attacked with all his might, it would not take long for him to kill Fong Ming. Comparatively speaking, capturing Fong Ming alive was more difficult than killing him. The leader of the alchemy division had to change his attack method. Swoosh! On the other side, Sun Jiangwen carried Li Tongtian and returned him to the storage ring. Sun Jiangwen wanted to help Li Tongtian heal his tendons and meridians. Even though Sun Jiangwen's soul power had reached the pinnacle of the 7th grade, it was no exception. Therefore, after Sun Jiangwen carried Li Tongtian, he immediately entered the storage ring. Rumble! On the other hand, the Dark Emperor used his killer move, using almost all of his strength in every move. For a moment, he was on par with Elder Tan. Elder Tan had already advanced to the pinnacle advanced stage, yin-yang intermediate stage. It was not easy for the Dark Emperor to be on par with him. Solitaire. A draw was not what Ningyu wanted. What he wanted was to kill Elder Tan. Ningyu did not hold back at all. He immediately brandished the red demon sword and slashed out an astonishing sword wave. Not good. When Elder Tan and the Dark Emperor were fighting, he already felt great pressure. Now that Ning Yu had joined the battle, his heart sank to the bottom. Elder Tan was well aware of Ning Yu's strength. He had just advanced to the middle stage of Yin-Yang realm, and his cultivation had yet to stabilize. How could he be a match for Ning Yu? Chi. At the critical moment, Old Tan forcefully forced the Dark Emperor back, and with a flick of his wrist, a cold light flashed out. The cold light dissipated almost as soon as it collided with the sword wave. Moreover, the sword wave didn't seem to be affected much as it went straight for Elder Tan. Elder Tan blocked Solitaire while shouting at Ning Yu. Ning Yu, I'm from the royal family. Aren't you afraid of offending the royal family if you dare to kill me? Her. Only you are allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to kill you? Ning Yu did not take Elder Tan's threat to heart at all. Instead, he smiled and said, To tell you the truth, I've long known about your and Wan Jingtian's plan. The reason why I waited until now is to take you down one by one. In the end, Ning Yu paused for a moment before continuing, Don't worry. After you die, I'll get Wan Jingtian to accompany you. Ning Yu, why are you wasting your breath on him? The Dark Emperor appeared a little impatient as he bellowed. This place isn't too far from the capital. If we delay any longer, there might be changes. Understood. Ning Yu nodded. Then he gathered the essence in his sea of consciousness into his fist and charged straight at Elder Tan. This place was indeed a little close to the capital, and the battle between the alchemist hall master and Fong Ming was huge. It would inevitably attract the attention of other experts. Originally, Ning Yu wanted to leave Fong Ming alive, but from the looks of it now, it was completely unnecessary. Alchemist Hall Master, there's no need to leave him alive. Just kill Fong Ming directly. Ning Yu transmitted his voice to the Alchemist Hall Master as he charged at Elder Tan. If you guys were to fight me from a distance, perhaps I might be a little apprehensive. Since you're courting death yourself, then don't blame me. Looking at the approaching Ning Yu, the corners of Elder Tan's mouth curled up slightly as a sinister smile surfaced on his face. Elder Tan was very confident in the essence in his body. In his opinion, Ning Yu was courting death by going head-on with him. However, Elder Tan was obviously thinking too much. How is this possible? When his fist collided with Ning Yu's fist, an essence chi undulation that was not weaker than his emanated from Ning Yu's fist. Sensing the berserk essence chi undulation contained in Ning Yu's fist, even if Elder Tan's cultivation reached middle stage Yin-Yang realm, his expression changed drastically at this time. He completely did not dare to believe his eyes. The degree of vastness of Ning Yu's essence chi was actually not the slightest bit weaker than his. Swoosh! Just as Elder Tan was astonished by Ning Yu's vigorous essence chi, the Dark Emperor had already arrived by his side. An enormous tail swept towards his body ruthlessly. The Dark Emperor's tail was like a rope. The instant it came into contact with Elder Tan's body, it wrapped around him tightly. Goodbye. Seeing the Dark Emperor entangling Elder Tan, Ning Yu did not hesitate in the slightest. Wielding the red fiend sword, he stabbed straight out. Puff! The sound of a flying sword stabbing into flesh rang out. Ning Yu, you can't! Elder Tan lowered his head and looked at the red flying sword stabbed into his heart area. His mouth opened and closed. Before he finished speaking, he fell to the ground with a thud. At this moment, the middle stage Yin-Yang realm Elder Tan was directly slain by Ning Yu. Puchi! At the same time, on the other side, the Alchemy Master Hall Master immediately launched a powerful attack after receiving Ning Yu's order. In the beginning, Fong Ming could still resist a little, but as time passed, Fong Ming finally could not hold on anymore and was punched in the head by the Alchemy Master Hall Master, dying on the spot. Swoosh! After Fong Ming died, the Dark Emperor turned into an afterimage and appeared beside him in an instant. Following that, the Dark Emperor started searching on Fong Ming's body. After a while, the Dark Emperor returned to Ning Yu's side. It was just that in his hand there was a white token. Swoosh! The Dark Emperor casually threw the token to Ningyu, then started searching on Elder Tan's body again. Access token? The few black words on the token attracted Ning Yu's attention. Fong Ming's cultivation is at the middle stage Yin-Yang realm. Since even he needs a token to enter a place, it must be a forbidden ground or a special place. Ningyu frowned slightly and muttered, "If I had known earlier, I would have left one person alive. This way, I can also force out where the token goes." "Ningyu, what do you think this is?" Chapter 508. News of Danger, Black Pearl? Ningyu glanced over and saw a black pearl in the Dark Emperor's hand. The pearl was around the size of half a fist and contained a strong fluctuation of vitality. After receiving the black pearl, Ningyu took a closer look at it. There's a seal on the surface of the pearl. It won't be easy to break it in a short period of time. Ningyu shook his head and said. Ningyu probed the black pearl with his soul energy and discovered that there was a seal on the surface of the pearl. The seal was unique. With the strength of his peak 5th grade soul energy, it would be difficult to break it in a short period of time. It's no longer safe here. Let's head to the capital first. After some thought, Ningyu decided to return to the capital. After all, a huge battle had just taken place here. Not long after, a huge group of experts would arrive. At that time, it would be very difficult for him to escape. What about the two of them? The Dark Emperor pointed at Fong Ming and Old Tan, who were long dead, and asked, "That's troublesome." Ningyu said in a deep voice. Fong Ming and Old Tan were from the royal family, and Ouyangba already knew that they were after him and Li Tongtian. If the two of them died, Ouyangba would immediately suspect him. "We might as well go all the way and destroy their corpses," Ningyu said coldly after a moment of silence. "Understood." As soon as Ningyu finished a sentence, the Dark Emperor appeared beside Old Tan in a flash. Following that, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of liquid. PST. The liquid was black. As soon as it came into contact with Old Tan's body, he disappeared as if he had evaporated into thin air. "Holy shit, I didn't expect you to have such a move." Ningyu was dumbfounded by the Dark Emperor's actions. Since when did the sky-devouring hounds have such an ability? The liquid in their bodies had a strong corrosive effect that could instantly corrode an intermediate-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. PST. Just as Ningyu was shocked, the Dark Emperor appeared beside Fong Ming and spat out a mouthful of black liquid. Fong Ming turned into a puff of gas and evaporated. "Go." After a brief moment of shock, Ningyu's eyes turned cold. He immediately leaped up and flew toward the capital. "Kid, wait for me." Seeing that Ningyu had left, the Dark Emperor did not dare to delay. He hurriedly turned into an afterimage and followed closely behind Ningyu. After all, the Dark Emperor was the emperor of the Heaven-Swallowing Dog clan. When Ningyu left, his sharp senses discovered that there were several groups of experts rushing over from afar. Even the weakest among them was at the early stage of Yin-Yang realm. One of them had even reached the peak of Yin-Yang realm. The Dark Emperor could slightly contend against a martial artist in the middle stage of the Yin-Yang realm, but against a martial artist at the peak of the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm, the Dark Emperor could only die. Kacha! Not long after Ningyu and the Dark Emperor left, several void spaces were suddenly torn open, and several martial artists appeared. After these cultivators appeared, they did not greet each other. Instead, they unleashed their perception and carefully explored the area. Voila! A moment later, the surrounding martial artists dispersed, including the martial artist at the peak of the late stage of the Yin-Yang realm. However, there was an old man standing in midair with a slight frown. There was no fluctuation of primordial chi around the old man, and his slightly turbid eyes shone brightly. It seems like the aura of the Heaven-Swallowing Dog Interesting, it's getting more and more interesting. Who knows? I might be able to gain something special from this trip to the capital. The Alchemy Union's alchemy competition is in 3 days. I have to go down and prepare. Buzz! As soon as the old man finished speaking, his body gradually became illusory. In the end, he merged with the void and disappeared. Swoosh! At the main entrance of the capital, a figure appeared. Upon closer inspection, the figure was none other than Ningyu. After tidying up his clothes, Ningyu strode towards the capital. The Dark Emperor did not follow behind Ningyu. Instead, he entered the storage ring. Since the third prince Ouyang-hai was killed, the imperial family would definitely send experts to patrol the capital. If the Dark Emperor appeared in the capital again, it would be very dangerous. Ning, you did not want to take this unnecessary risk. After entering the capital, Ningyu did not immediately return to Danwu College. Instead, he found a random restaurant and sat down. Special times called for special treatment. Ningyu wanted to first understand the situation in the capital. Restaurants had always been crowded with people, so it was the easiest place to obtain gossip. Have you heard? The mysterious force in Shui Yu Pavilion has spread the word that Lu Wei has to return to Shui Yu Pavilion by tomorrow night. If not, her parents will be killed. As expected, just as Ningyu sat down, he heard a few burly men chatting at the next table. The one who spoke was an early primal core stage man. He sighed and said, Shui Yu Pavilion used to be the top force in the capital. Who would have thought that in such a short period of time, it would decline to such an extent that even its headquarters had been taken? That's right. Beside the burly man, a bearded man said regretfully, Lu Wei was originally the daughter of Shui Yu Pavilion. Now that Shui Yu Pavilion is in such a decline, and her parents are under the control of others, her days will not be easy. Even if it's not easy, she has to. I heard that Lu Wei is in Danwu College. If it were me, I would definitely not return to Shui Yu Pavilion. After all, where there's life, there's hope, another mid-primal core stage warrior said. Things are not that simple, the early primal core stage warrior said. The burly man at the early stage of the primal core realm said this is a matter of life and death for the family. If Lu Swan flinched, he will be reviled by everyone. Cursed is better than dying in battle, the bearded man said. Oh, yes. Who are the people in Shui Yu Pavilion? You know, Lu Wei is in Danwu College. Are they not afraid of offending Danwu College by doing this? The mid-primal core stage warrior suddenly asked. Haha, you think too much. The early primal core stage warrior laughed and said, I have received news that Lu Wei was only placed in Danwu College by Ningyu. She has nothing to do with Danwu College. I see. But I don't know if Ningyu will show up, the bearded man said. Now that things have come to this, Ningyu will not be able to help. The early primal core stage warrior looked around and said in a low voice, I heard that among the mysterious people in Shui Yu Pavilion, there are 2 late yin-yang stage warriors. Hiss. Hearing the words of the early primal core stage warrior, the other 2 warriors could not help but gasp. 2 late-stage yin-yang realm martial artists. This force was truly terrifying. Crack! Just as these big men were discussing, a kacha sound rang out. Then, a cultivator rushed out of the restaurant. Who is he? The early primal core stage warrior asked. I'm not sure. He seems to be at the peak of the true martial realm, the bearded man said doubtfully. The peak of the true martial realm. Could it be Ningyu? Chapter 509. To turn nothingness into reality whoosh. The few men in the restaurant had guessed correctly. The martial artist who had rushed out of the restaurant was indeed Ningyu. After leaving the restaurant, Ningyu rushed to Danwu College without stopping. Lu Wei's cultivation was only at the Xiantian realm. How could they let her return to Snow Domain Pavilion to face that mysterious force alone? There was only death awaiting them. Ningyu would never allow it. Hence, Ningyu's speed was very fast. He wanted to return to the Danwu Academy at the first moment to stop Lu and I. Whoosh! However, after flying for a while, Ningyu stopped. No, I can't go back now. Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn. Although he could stop Lu Wei from returning to Danwu College, this matter was likely to leave a scar in Lu Wei's heart. In the future, it would be very difficult for Lu Wei to make any further progress on the path of cultivation. After thinking for a while, Ningyu decided to go to the snow pavilion to find out what kind of people were inside. Ningyu didn't immediately go to the snow domain pavilion. After all, according to the big men, there were at least 2 Inyang late-stage martial artists in the snow domain pavilion. Tomorrow night was the appointed time between the mysterious force and Lu Wei, so Ningyu still had a lot of time. Ningyu decided to personally refine the essence transformation pill and then attempt to break through to the origin core realm. If he advanced to the origin core realm, Ningyu could even withstand a few moves from a late-stage Inyang realm martial artist. Without hesitation, Ningyu immediately turned into a medicinal herb store and bought 10 sets of medicinal herbs to refine the vitality transformation pill. After buying the herbs, Ningyu strolled around the capital a few times and bought a slightly higher quality alchemy furnace. After doing all this, Ningyu made sure that no one was following him before entering an inn. Ningyu set up a barrier around the room, then took out the 10 sets of Huayuan Dan's medicinal ingredients and placed them on the ground. I wonder if this cauldron can last until I finish concocting all 10 cauldrons of origin transformation pills. Ningyu casually threw the cauldron into the air, grabbed a medicinal ingredient with his left hand, and threw it into the cauldron. The origin transformation pill was a peak grade 5 medicinal pill. There was a special characteristic when refining it, and that was that the temperature required was very high, very high. It was very difficult for an ordinary pill furnace to last until the pill was formed. The quality of the pill furnace Ningyu bought was not bad, but Ningyu was still a little worried. After all, he was refining a transcendent grade Yuan transformation pill, and the temperature required was even higher. Chi. As soon as the pill was thrown into the furnace, a blue flame appeared on the fingertip of Ningyu's right hand, constantly burning the bottom of the furnace. As the temperature at the bottom of the cauldron continued to rise, the first medicinal herb was quickly burned away, turning into a drop of crystal clear liquid. The success of the first step caused Ningyu to heave a sigh of relief. A good start was half the battle. Following that, Ningyu grabbed another medicinal herb and threw it into the cauldron. This time, the time taken for the medicinal herb to be refined was clearly much faster. In just 10 seconds, the medicinal herb was refined into a drop of liquid. Voila! The first 2 medicinal herbs were just a test for Ningyu. Following that, he increased the speed at which he threw the medicinal herbs into the cauldron. Basically, every 10 seconds he would throw a medicinal herb into the cauldron. Chi. The sound of chi could be heard incessantly. Drop after drop of liquid was quickly refined and stuck to the sides of the cauldron. Go! After about 10 minutes, Ningyu let out a low shout. Then, the soul force in his body rushed into the cauldron and began the second round of refining the liquid. This time, Ningyu was very attentive. Because it concerned the final quality of the pill, Ningyu had no choice but to be extremely careful. After another 10 minutes, Ningyu withdrew his soul force from the cauldron. At the same time, the azure spiritual fire on Ningyu's fingertip burned even brighter as he worked hard to raise the temperature of the cauldron. Time passed minute by minute. Ningyu did not dare to have the slightest bit of carelessness. He did not even bother to wipe the beads of sweat that had formed on his forehead. Rise! After another 10 minutes, Ningyu's right hand slapped the cauldron fiercely. The lid of the cauldron was lifted in an instant. Then, a round white medicinal pill burst out from the cauldron. Pa! Ningyu's eyes and hands were sharp. In an instant, he caught the white medicinal pill in his hand. Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pill. Looking at the white medicinal pill lying on his palm, Ningyu was slightly disappointed. Forget it. It's better than nothing. Let's hope that the next 9 batches can produce Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pills. Ningyu found a jade bottle and stored the Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pill inside. He then threw it to the side and started to refine the second cauldron of Essence Transformation Pills. If Ningyu's actions were seen by outsiders, even if it was a Tier 6 alchemist, they would have the impulse to beat him up. Although the Essence Transformation Pill was only a peak Tier 5 medicinal pill, ordinary Tier 6 alchemists did not dare to say that they could refine it with 100% success rate. It would be incredible if they could succeed once out of 10 batches. But Ningyu refined a Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pill on his first batch and was still not satisfied. Swish! The first batch of Essence Transformation Pills allowed Ningyu to have a very deep understanding of cauldrons. Hence, for the second batch of Essence Transformation Pills, Ningyu obviously increased his speed. Originally, he needed 30 minutes to form the pill. This time, Ningyu used 20 minutes to refine the Essence Transformation Pill. Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pill. Without a doubt, for the second batch of Essence Transformation Pills, Ningyu refined a Supreme Grade 1. With the first batch of Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pills, there was a second batch, a third batch, due to the refinement speed becoming increasingly faster. The last 8 batches of Essence Transformation Pills, Ningyu used 2 hours to refine all of them. Furthermore, all of them were Supreme Grade Energy Transformation Pills. Crack! When the last batch of Essence Transformation Pills was formed, the pill furnace that Ningyu purchased also shattered with a loud bang. The shattering of the pill furnace did not arouse too much of Ningyu's attention, because the current him was adjusting his mental state, planning on consuming medicinal pills to assault the Origin Core realm. Ningyu spent 2 hours to adjust his mental state to the peak. Shortly after, he grabbed a Transcendent Grade Essence Transformation Pill and directly threw it into his mouth. Buzz! When the medicinal pill entered his stomach, Ningyu only felt a surge of scorching heat wreaking havoc in his body, as if his entire body was being scorched by a blazing fire. The scorching heat merely lasted for a moment, then disappeared. Following the disappearance of the scorching heat, a surge of terrifying energy poured into Ningyu's sea of consciousness, fusing together with a virtual image of a golden core. Bang! The instant the two fused together, a muffled sound rang out, and then Ningyu's mouth slightly opened, because he discovered that the virtual image of a golden core in his sea of consciousness had actually turned from illusion to reality, transforming into a real golden core. The virtual image of a golden core transforming into a real golden core was not frightening. What was frightening was that Ningyu was still at the peak of the true martial realm, and did not have the slightest intention of advancing to the Origin Core realm. Possessing a physical golden core, yet having a cultivation at the peak of the true martial realm, Ningyu might be the first person in history to do so. Don't tell me that I have to transform the remaining 6 virtual golden cores into physical golden cores in order to break through to the Origin Core realm. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Chapter 510. Chapter 510 of the Ultimate Realm Illusory Golden Core was not the same as a physical golden core. The two could not be mentioned in the same breath. To Ningyu, as long as he could have 7 physical golden cores in the Primal Core realm, he could even compete with a late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. To be able to compete with a late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist while still in the Primal Core realm, even Ningyu had not seen such a powerful martial artist in his previous life. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu had a serious look in his eyes. Then, Ningyu took out another Supreme Yuan transformation pill and popped it into his mouth. This time, Ningyu did not wait for the Yuan transformation pill to merge with the illusory golden core. Instead, he initiated the spiritual transformation method and began to refine the pill. Boom! After about 3 minutes, a dull sound was heard. Without a doubt, another illusory golden core in Ningyu's consciousness had turned into a physical golden core. 2 supreme Yuan transformation pills had turned 2 illusory golden cores into physical golden cores, which gave Ningyu a huge boost. Next, Ningyu continued to swallow Yuan transformation pills, and the illusory golden cores in his consciousness also continued to turn into physical golden cores. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after, the 7 illusory golden cores in Ningyu's consciousness had all turned into physical golden cores. Boom! The moment the last illusory golden core turned into a physical golden core, an earth-shattering sound rang out in the room. After that, a monstrous, imposing aura surged out from Ningyu's body and charged out. Crack! Crack! This aura hit the enchantment around the room and directly shattered it. Swoosh! In the next moment, the aura suddenly disappeared. Ningyu's eyes opened abruptly, and there was a faint look of shock on his face. Mid-primal core realm. At this moment, Ningyu had not only advanced from the peak of the true martial realm to the primal core realm, but he had also directly surpassed the early primal core realm and soared to the mid-primal core realm. Although the mid-primal core stage was not considered very high in the capital, it was enough for Ningyu. Now that his cultivation had advanced to the mid-primal core stage, coupled with the 7 golden essences, Ningyu could even kill a late yin-yang stage martial artist. Supreme 9 purities, sword technique. Ningyu was not overwhelmed by the increase in his cultivation. On the contrary, he was very calm. The next moment, he drew out the red demon sword and decided to cultivate the 6th form of the 9 purities, supreme. Sword technique, solitaire. Solitaire had 4 realms: initial success, middle success, great success, and ultimate. Right now, Ningyu had only cultivated solitaire to the great accomplishment realm. If he could cultivate it to the ultimate realm, his trip to Snow Domain Pavilion would be much safer. Chi. After experiencing so many things, Ningyu had a deeper understanding of solitaire. He waved the red demon sword in his hand continuously, and waves of sword energy flew out, forming a sword wave array in the air. After advancing to the mid-primal core stage, the density of the Yuan Qi in Ningyu's consciousness had become very frightening. Originally, he could only use solitaire a few times, but now he could use it without restraint, and he did not have to worry about running out of Yuan Qi. No, if I continue to cultivate like this, it is almost impossible to cultivate solitaire to the ultimate realm. After a while, Ningyu stopped. The power of solitaire at the great accomplishment realm was already very frightening. Logically speaking, the ultimate realm solitaire. That's right. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have thought of something. He raised his eyebrows and immediately waved the red demon sword in his hand. At the same time, a steady stream of Yuan Qi flowed through Ningyu's wrist and into the red demon sword. Buzz, buzz! As Yuan Qi continued to flow into the sword, the red demon's sword made a slight vibrating sound. Go! With a low shout from Ningyu, an extremely powerful wave of sword energy appeared in the air. Swoosh! As soon as the wave of sword energy appeared, a figure rushed out from the storage ring on Ningyu's wrist and came into direct contact with the wave of sword energy. F***CK. The figure that rushed out from the storage ring was none other than the Dark Emperor. Ningyu, what the hell are you doing? The Dark Emperor could not help but curse as he looked at the wave of sword energy that was approaching him and the violent Yuan Qi that it contained. However, the Dark Emperor used a secret technique to block the wave of sword energy as he growled. Bang! Although the Dark Emperor had already used all his strength to block it, he had still underestimated the power of the wave of sword energy. Without a doubt, when the wave of sword energy collided with the Dark Emperor's body, it sent him flying. Not bad. Ningyu nodded in satisfaction as he stared at the Dark Emperor, who had fallen flat on his face. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor gritted his teeth and said, "Ningyu, if you don't give me an explanation today, I won't let you off." Just a moment ago, the Dark Emperor received a message from Ningyu, saying that there was a great opportunity for him. Hearing that there was an opportunity, the Dark Emperor naturally flew out of the storage ring without hesitation. Who would have thought that Ningyu would make a fool out of him? "Dark Emperor, how's the power of my move?" Ningyu did not care about the Dark Emperor's complaints and asked, "How's the power?" The Dark Emperor's expression was terrible as he berated, "Even I almost failed. How can it be weak?" However, what Ningyu said next left the Dark Emperor dumbfounded. He had the urge to slap Ningyu. "I'm relieved to hear that. To tell you the truth, this is only 30% of its power." When Ningyu said that, the Dark Emperor opened his mouth and wanted to say something. However, when he saw Ningyu's serious look, he swallowed his words. The Dark Emperor had seen this move of Ning used before. Compared to before, the power of the sword wave today was clearly much stronger. Could it really be, as Ningyu had said, that he had only used 30% of its power? "Dark Emperor, make a trip to the Snow Domain Pavilion." Right at this moment, Ningyu put away the red demon sword and dashed out of the room in a flash. Behind Ningyu, the Dark Emperor pondered for a moment before following closely. The Dark Emperor was rather worried about this trip to the Snow Domain Pavilion. The Dark Emperor had heard the conversation between the burly men in the inn clearly and had a rough idea of the strength of the mysterious men in the Snow Domain Pavilion. Although Ningyu had advanced to mid-stage primordial core realm and the power of his sword wave was strong, the most important thing was that the alchemy master was treating Li Tongtian with Sun Jiangwen. In other words, the two of them could not help much at this moment. He had to rely on himself and Ningyu for everything. That's right, there should be the red demon as well. Just like outside the capital, in order not to expose the Dark Emperor, Ningyu sent the Dark Emperor into his storage ring the moment they left the inn. The Snow Domain Pavilion was extremely dangerous, and keeping the Dark Emperor in his storage ring would serve as a trump card. Given the Dark Emperor's strength, he might be able to pose a threat to late-stage Yin-Yang realm cultivators if he caught them off guard. The Snow Domain Pavilion was not too far from the inn that Ningyu was staying at. Therefore, it did not take long for Ningyu to arrive at the Snow Domain Pavilion. Chapter 511. Hiding. Ningyu had chosen a good place to hide. He could easily watch the people entering and exiting the snow pavilion, and he could also hide himself well. After all, there were many Yin-Yang stage warriors in the snow pavilion, and if Ningyu were to barge in now, the situation would be very dangerous. Choosing to wait here might be the best choice. After about half an hour, an early primal core warrior walked out of the snow pavilion, looked left and right, and then flew off into the distance. Looking at the departing warrior, Ningyu frowned slightly, but did not move. After another half an hour, this time, two late primal core warriors walked out of the snow pavilion. Ningyu remained where he was, not moving. In the next 2 to 3 hours, there were no less than 10 warriors going in and out of the main entrance of the snow pavilion. However, these warriors did not attract much of Ningyu's attention, and he continued to wait tirelessly. Swish! Suddenly, a warrior in a black robe attracted Ningyu's attention. Early primal core stage? Ningyu sensed something unusual about the warrior in the black robe. Although the warrior in the black robe only seemed to be in the early primal core stage, based on Ningyu's years of experience, the warrior in the black robe should not be lower than the Yin-Yang stage. After a moment's thought, Ningyu moved his feet and carefully followed behind the warrior in the black robe. Ningyu followed very carefully, concealing his entire aura, afraid of being discovered by the warrior in the black robe. The warrior in the black robe did not seem to notice Ningyu. He first circled the capital, then left. What are you doing outside the capital? Ning Yu hesitated for a second, then gritted his teeth and followed closely. After all, he had already followed for so long. If he did not follow, it would not be right. Furthermore, the warrior in the black robe was perhaps the only way to understand the internal situation of the snow pavilion, and Ning Yu did not want to give up such a great opportunity. Swish! Outside the capital, the black-robed cultivator's speed was very fast. In almost an instant, he had already traversed several dozen feet. Judging from his speed, his cultivation should be between early stage and mid-stage yin-yang realm. Ning Yu frowned slightly as he looked at the black-robed cultivator in front of him. The black-robed martial artist's speed was indeed very fast. Even though Ning Yu had advanced to the middle primal core stage, he could only follow behind him. Voila! However, just as Ning Yu was pondering the black-robed cultivator's identity, the black-robed cultivator's body froze in midair. Seeing the black-robed cultivator stop, Ning Yu hurriedly stopped and hid under the nearest tree. You've followed me for so long. Can you come out now? The black-robed cultivator looked in the direction of Ning Yu before saying, "A little primal core child is quite bold." Whoosh! Since he had already been discovered by the black-robed cultivator, Ning Yu simply walked out from behind the giant tree. Seeing Ning Yu come out, the black-robed cultivator sized up Ning Yu. While the black-robed cultivator was sizing up Ning Yu was also sizing up the black-robed cultivator. Late-stage yin-yang realm cultivation. Feeling the powerful aura emanating from the black-robed cultivator, Ning Yu's eyes narrowed and revealed a serious expression. Late-stage yin-yang realm martial artists were very strong. With Ning Yu's current strength, although he could contend against them, if the other party wanted to leave, Ning Yu would not be able to do anything. Moreover, late-stage yin-yang realm martial artists were not to be trifled with. If they had a few more powerful trump cards, the person who would fail today would probably be Ning Yu. To be able to cultivate to the mid-stage Yuan Dan stage at such a young age, you are indeed not simple. The black-robed cultivator stared at Ning Yu as an evil smile formed on his lips. Tell me who ordered you to follow me, and I can leave your corpse intact. In the black-robed cultivator's opinion, no matter how bold a mid-stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist was, he would not dare to follow him, unless this mid-stage Yuan Dan stage martial artist was ordered by a strong practitioner to follow him. Upon hearing the black-robed cultivator's words, Ning Yu's eyes turned before he calmly said, "If I tell you who the martial artist behind me is, can you spare my life?" Haha, in this world, no one has ever dared to bargain with me. The black-robed cultivator smiled slightly, then changed the topic as he coldly said, "Because those who dared to bargain with me have all died at my hands." If that's the case, I can be considered lucky to still be alive after bargaining with you. Ning Yu shrugged his shoulders and said, "To tell you the truth, the martial artist behind me is very powerful. It's Wan Jingtian, late yin-yang stage cultivation." Wan Jingtian. As Ning Yu finished speaking, the black-robed cultivator's eyes revealed a vicious look. At the same time, he could not help but clench his fists. Actually, when Ning Yu had said those words, he had been paying attention to the black-robed cultivator's movements. When he saw the expression on the black-robed cultivator's face, as well as his tightly clenched fists, Ning Yu knew that the black-robed cultivator definitely knew Wan Jingtian. It seemed like they did not have a good relationship. "What proof do you have that you are a martial artist sent by Wan Jingtian?" Taking a deep breath, the black-robed cultivator said in a low voice. The black-robed cultivator was not stupid. Naturally, he would not listen to Ning Yu's one-sided words. Without absolute proof, he would definitely not believe Ning Yu's words. This is the best proof. His eyes turning, Ningyu took out the white token he had obtained from Fong Ming and waved it in his hand. The entry token. Seeing the white token in Ningyu's hand, the black-robed cultivator's face completely darkened. Wan Jingtian actually gave you something as important as the entry token. It seems like you are right. The black-robed cultivator said coldly, the entry token is such an important thing. It is a complete waste to leave it with you. I will temporarily take care of it for you. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the black-robed cultivator waved his hands in front of him, tore through the void, and entered. In the next instant, the black-robed cultivator appeared beside Ningyu. His right hand quickly shot out and grabbed the white token in Ningyu's hand. I knew you would do this. The black-robed cultivator's sudden attack was completely within Ningyu's expectations. However, Ningyu did not have the slightest bit of carelessness. After all, the black-robed cultivator was at the late yin-yang stage. A slight carelessness could lead to unpredictable danger. Solitaire. To Ningyu, it was fine when he did not attack, but when he attacked, it was a killing move. The essence energy in his sea of consciousness surged wildly into the red demon sword. In the next moment, a shocking sword wave separated from the red demon sword and slashed at the black-robed cultivator. Damn it! The black-robed cultivator had not expected Ningyu to suddenly attack him. Furthermore, Ningyu's move was so powerful that he had to retreat immediately. However, in order to obtain the white token, the black-robed cultivator was very close to Ningyu. Trying to dodge Solitaire at such a close distance was harder than ascending to heaven. Chapter 512. Trap information the moment the fist collided with the sword wave. The expression on the black-robed cultivator's face changed as an ominous feeling arose in his heart. Take another punch. Rotating palm. At this moment, Ningyu pushed his palm forward. The palm, which was almost solid, slashed towards the black-robed cultivator's neck. After advancing to the intermediate Yuan Dan stage, Ningyu's control over the rotating palm had improved. It could be said that the power of the rotating palm that Ningyu used now was much stronger than when he used the reincarnation palm. Damn it! As he was using all his strength to block Solitaire, the black-robed cultivator could only choose to retreat and avoid the incoming palm. How could Ningyu let go of such a good opportunity? Reincarnation palm. Following Ningyu's growl, a palm print that wasn't any weaker than the rotating wheel palm appeared in the sky. Oh no! The black-robed cultivator's senses were strong, and he could naturally tell that the second palm was much stronger than the first. At this crucial moment, the black-robed cultivator gave up on the rotating palm and used all his strength to block the reincarnation palm. Uft! Without a doubt, the black-robed cultivator's chest was hit by the rotating palm and his body was on the verge of collapse. However, the black-robed cultivator's decision was obviously correct. Giving up on the rotating palm allowed him to block the reincarnation palm's overwhelming power. Otherwise, Ningyu's reincarnation palm alone would have been enough to severely injure him. However, even so, the black-robed cultivator's breathing was slightly weak. It was obvious that he had suffered a significant injury. Good, very good. Ever since I advanced to the yin-yang stage, you are the first person in the Yuan Dan stage to be able to injure me. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, the black-robed cultivator's face turned serious. Although he was careless, the fact that the warrior in front of him could injure him at the intermediate Yuan Dan stage meant that he had some skills. Oh, in that case, I can be considered to be relatively lucky. Ningyu did not take the black-robed cultivator's praise to heart. Instead, he nodded his head and replied, "Hee, you are indeed very lucky." The black-robed cultivator first smiled slightly, then said coldly, "Because on this day next year it will be the anniversary of your death." Noisy. If you want to fight, then fight. Why are you so long-winded? Ningyu said impatiently. Through the exchange just now, Ningyu had basically determined the black-robed martial artist's strength. He was on par with him. Since the two sides were equally matched, the one who had the upper hand was definitely Ningyu, because the Dark Emperor was still in the storage ring. With the help of the Dark Emperor, Ningyu was confident that he could slowly grind the black-robed cultivator to death. You. Hearing Ningyu's words, the black-robed cultivator's face turned very gloomy. However, the black-robed cultivator did not lose his mind. He did not launch another attack just because of Ningyu's arrogant words. What the black-robed martial artist was afraid of was the possibility of hidden martial artists in the surroundings. In his opinion, it was impossible for Ningyu to follow him alone. "Tell me, why are you following me?" Taking a deep breath, the black-robed martial artist quietly released his perception, wanting to detect if there were any hidden martial artists in the surroundings. "I already said. It was Wan Jingtian who told me to follow you." Ningyu had already thought of a countermeasure in his heart, so he calmly said, "The Emperor suspects that you are colluding with the corpse sect. Impossible." Before Ningyu finished speaking, the black-robed martial artist scolded. "Not long ago, the Emperor left the Snow Domain Pavilion and ordered us to send Lu Wei to the palace. How could he suspect us?" Sure enough, the mysterious force of the Snow Domain Pavilion is related to the royal family. Ningyu's heart skipped a beat, but he did not show it. These words were all told to me by Wan Jingtian. I was only responsible for passing on the message. That's right, Wan Jingtian should be in the palace right now. It is impossible for him to leave the palace in a short period of time because, speaking up to here, Ningyu paused for a moment and then smiled. The Emperor wants to promote Wan Jingtian to the peak of the Yin-Yang stage as soon as possible so that he can replace you. Humph. A load of nonsense, a load of nonsense. The black-robed martial artist clenched his fists tightly, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. If what the mid-primal core martial artist said was true, then the situation was very serious for them. However, the black-robed martial artist was, after all, a late yin-yang stage martial artist, so naturally he would not easily believe what Ningyu said. What does it have to do with me, whether you believe it or not? Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and said nonchalantly, "To tell you the truth, once Wan Jingtian reaches the peak of the yin-yang stage, he will completely take over the Snow Domain Pavilion. Whether you stay or leave will be up to him." Hee. Your words have exposed yourself. Hearing Ningyu's words, the black-robed martial artist laughed brightly. After laughing, the black-robed martial artist's tone became cold as he said, "Even if Wan Jingtian reaches the peak of the yin-yang stage, he cannot completely take over the Snow Domain Pavilion. Didn't Wan Jingtian tell you that there are 4 late yin-yang stage martial artists in the Snow Domain Pavilion?" The black-robed martial artist continued, "Besides the 4 late yin-yang stage martial artists, there is another peak yin-yang stage martial artist in the Snow Domain Pavilion." Would Wan Jingtian dare to force his way into the Snow Domain Pavilion? As he spoke, the black-robed martial artist stared hard into Ningyu's eyes, hoping to find some clues. But unfortunately, Ningyu's expression was as tranquil as an ancient well, and it didn't change in the slightest. On the contrary, Ningyu said, "If all the late yin-yang stage martial artists in the Snow Domain Pavilion are of the same level as you, then Wan Jingtian could take over the Snow Domain Pavilion." Ha ha ha. The black-robed martial artist laughed maniacally and said, "The Snow Domain Pavilion has already set up 3 lines of defense. Wan Jingtian's token only allows him to pass through the first 2. What right does he have to take over the Snow Domain Pavilion? Forget it. There is no point in talking to you about this. Since you have chosen to follow me, you should be prepared to be killed." As he spoke, the black-robed martial artist rose from the ground and once again launched a powerful attack on Ningyu. Although he did not believe Ningyu's words, the black-robed martial artist secretly believed him. He had to quickly return to the Snow Domain Pavilion and think of a way to contact the peak yin-yang stage martial artist in the third line of defense. He did not want to be stabbed in the back by Wan Jingtian. Thank you for telling me so much about the Snow Domain Pavilion. Ning Yu smiled faintly at the black-robed cultivator. Then he stomped on the ground and immediately retreated. Trying to run? Not so easy. Seeing Ning Yu's actions, the black-robed martial artist snorted coldly. His hands tore through the void and entered. In the next moment, the black-robed martial artist appeared beside Ning Yu. Eat my fist. After appearing, the black-robed martial artist's fist brought with it an extremely violent Yuan Qi gale and unscrupulously punched at Ning Yu's chest. Dark Emperor, if you don't show yourself now, when will you? However, when the black-robed martial artist's fist was 20 centimeters away from Ning Yu's chest, Ning Yu shouted. Chapter 513. Destroying the evidence, grandfather? You are, oh no. Hearing the Dark Emperor's words, the black-robed cultivator was stunned at first, and then his expression changed. Because he sensed a black figure flashing out from Ning Yu's spatial ring, and it was attacking him at an extremely shocking speed. Just like last time at such a close distance, it was too late for the black-robed cultivator to dodge. He could only meet the black figure head-on. Bam! In the next moment, the black-robed cultivator gave up on attacking Ning Yu and turned his fist to collide with the black figure. Whoosh! However, the black-robed cultivator's expression changed the moment his fist came into contact with the black figure. It's actually a black dog. It was no wonder that the black-robed cultivator's expression changed. The moment the two collided, he realized that the black figure was not a human, but a black dog. Although it was a hurried battle, if he were to be defeated by a dog, the black-robed cultivator would probably find a block of tofu to kill himself. What kind of world is this? It's one thing for an intermediate primal core cultivator to be so arrogant, but even a dog is so arrogant and calls itself grandfather? I think it's more like a dead dog. The black-robed cultivator gritted his teeth in anger. After hastily receiving the Dark Emperor's blow, he did not stop and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with the Dark Emperor. After all, the Dark Emperor was only a peak primal core cultivator. Initially, he was able to hold his own against the black-robed cultivator, but as time passed, the Dark Emperor began to show signs of weakness. Bam! Suddenly, the black-robed cultivator seized the opportunity and punched the Dark Emperor in the chest, sending him flying several feet away. Ning Yu, are you King ready? The Dark Emperor shouted at Ning Yu before he fell. Whoosh! On the other side, Ning Yu's tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and he slowly exhaled a mouthful of foul air. Come out! Accompanied by a low shout from Ning Yu, the 7 golden cores in Ning Yu's consciousness all flew out. In midair, the 7 golden cores lined up in a row was exceptionally spectacular. Solitaire. When all the golden cores appeared, Ning Yu tossed the red demon sword in his hand into the center of the golden cores. The vital energy within the 7 golden elixirs surged out and flowed into the red demon sword. As the Yuan Qi in the red fiend increased, the red fiend did something terrifying. Without Ning Yu controlling it, it slashed out a shocking sword wave. Qi. The sword ripples were abnormally huge, as thick as 3 to 4 waists. The friction between them and the air produced a Qi sound. What's wrong with this world? Am I too crazy or am I too outdated? Black Robe's face was filled with disbelief as he looked at the sword ripples approaching him. It was reasonable for a dog to have super strong combat power. Now, even a flying sword could slash out a sword wave on its own, which made him feel a little incredulous. However, what surprised him even more were the 7 Jindan in midair. What the F*CK was this? How could a mid-primal core warrior have 7 golden cores? Despite his shock, the black-robed warrior's hands were not idle. He hurriedly summoned his flying sword and slashed out a sword wave of his own. Kaboom! The moment the two sword waves collided, the black-robed warrior's eyes revealed a look of shock. He realized that the sword wave he had slashed out had been easily dispersed like a piece of white paper. Following that, the sword wave from the red flying sword in midair rushed straight at him. The ultimate state of solitaire is indeed very powerful. Seeing the black-robed warrior's wretched state, even Ningyu, who knew how powerful the ultimate state of solitaire was, could not help but look surprised. The black-robed warrior was a late-stage yin-yang warrior, but he had not been able to gain an advantage over solitaire. From this, it could be seen that even Ningyu had underestimated the power of the ultimate state of solitaire. If I use the solitary sword wave unexpectedly, I can even fight against yin-yang realm pinnacle martial artist. Ningyu's mind began to race. He had originally planned to give up on the trip to Snow Pavilion. After all, there were peak yin-yang warriors in Snow Pavilion. However, when he saw how powerful solitaire was, he immediately decided to head to Snow Pavilion as soon as he dealt with the black-robed warrior. Ha ha ha! Do you think you can defeat me, Black Whirlwind, with just this sword wave? At this moment, the black-robed warrior looked up to the sky and laughed. I, Black Whirlwind, have been able to survive in the capital for so many years. It is not for nothing. Uft! Before the black-robed warrior could finish his sentence, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. I, Black Whirlwind, can you not? Puffed! The black-robed warrior looked down at the red flying sword in his heart. His mouth opened slightly as he pointed at Ningyu. Then, with a thud, his body fell forward. At the instant the black-robed warrior fell, the flying sword in his heart flashed out and returned to Ningyu's hand. The red flying sword was the Red Fiend sword. To be more precise, it was the Red Fiend sword that was controlled by the Red Fiend sword. The Red Fiend sword had recovered to the Peak King rank, so it was naturally able to pierce through space in a short period of time and appear before the black-robed warrior to kill him. Because the black-robed warrior's attention had been placed on solitaire, he had been careless, and the Red Fiend sword had found an opening. Otherwise, it would not have been so easy to kill the black-robed warrior with just the Red Fiend sword. Ha ha ha, weren't you showing off? Show off again. Ouch. The Dark Emperor roared with laughter when he saw the black-robed warrior being killed. However, he'd only spoken a few words when he aggravated the injuries on his body, and he grimaced in pain. Dark Emperor, hurry up and check if there's anything good on Black Whirlwind. Then leave this place quickly. Ningyu released his perception and probed the surroundings for a while before saying in a deep voice, "A late-stage yin-yang realm warrior has been killed. It will definitely attract the attention of the mysterious force in Snow Domain Pavilion. This is the best time for us to sneak into Snow Domain Pavilion." Understood. Although the Dark Emperor was usually sloppy, he was not careless when it came to critical matters. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Dark Emperor immediately searched the black-robed warrior's body. After a while, the Dark Emperor came to Ningyu's side. There were 2 items in the Dark Emperor's hand. The first was a white token, and the second was a black pearl. Exactly the same. Ningyu frowned slightly when he received the white token and black pearl from the Dark Emperor. These 2 items were exactly the same as the ones he'd obtained from Fangming and Old Ten not long ago. There was almost no difference. The only difference was that there was a plum blossom mark on the upper left corner of the black-robed warrior's white token. Black Whirlwind said that Snow Domain Pavilion has a total of 3 lines of defense. Ningyu waved the white token in his hand and murmured, "It seems like Fangming's token can allow us to enter the first 2 lines of defense, and this token is the key to entering the 3rd line of defense." Dark Emperor, same rules. Chapter 514. Boundary. This was not the first time that the Dark Emperor had destroyed a corpse. This time, it was a familiar process, and the black-robed martial artist completely disappeared from the face of the earth. "Let's go!" Seeing the black-robed martial artist disappear into thin air, Ningyu relaxed a little. He rose from the ground and headed for the capital city. The Dark Emperor knew that Ningyu was going to the snow pavilion, so he immediately turned into a shadow and entered the storage ring. Whoosh! Not long after, Ningyu appeared at the main entrance of the snow pavilion. However, Ningyu had already changed his appearance. His entire body was wrapped in a black robe, and he looked somewhat similar to the black-robed martial artist from before. If one did not look closely, one would not be able to tell. Furthermore, Ningyu's entire body exuded a faint yin-yang aura, which made it even more difficult to distinguish him from the real one. "Please show me your token." Although he was well prepared, when Ningyu wanted to step into the snow pavilion, he was immediately stopped by a peak primal core martial artist. Without any hesitation, Ningyu flicked his wrist and took out the black-robed martial artist's token. The peak primal core martial artist looked at the white token in Ningyu's hand and immediately became respectful. "Lord Black Whirlwind." Ningyu kept the white token and stepped into the snow pavilion. After Ningyu left, the peak primal core martial artist frowned and muttered, "Didn't Lord Black Whirlwind just leave the snow pavilion? Why is he back so soon?" In fact, it was no wonder that the peak primal core martial artist was confused. Not long ago, the snow pavilion had sent out 3 advanced yin-yang realm martial artists. This was the first time they had sent out 3 advanced yin-yang realm martial artists since they had taken over the snow pavilion. Furthermore, when the 3 advanced yin-yang realm martial artists left, their expressions were very serious and even a little gloomy. "Forget it. It has nothing to do with me anyway. I'll just guard the door honestly." Shaking his head, the peak of the primal core stage warrior threw all his thoughts to the back of his mind and focused on guarding the door, preventing anyone from sneaking into the snow pavilion. However, just as the peak primal core practitioner extended his senses, his expression changed as he said in a low voice, "Please show me your token." In front of the pinnacle of the primal core stage, a middle-aged man scoffed and threw the white token in his hand over. Seeing the plum blossom mark on the lower left corner of the white token, the peak primal core practitioner's heart skipped a beat, and he respectfully returned the token to the middle-aged man. After receiving the white token, the middle-aged man walked into the snow domain pavilion without looking back. "I wonder why Lord Coldfaced has returned at this time." After the middle-aged man disappeared, the martial artist at the peak of the primal core stage wiped the sweat off his forehead. Obviously, the middle-aged man gave him a lot of pressure. Meanwhile, in the snow pavilion, although this was not the first time Ningyu had come to Snow Domain Pavilion, he was extra careful this time. He had heard from the warrior in the black robe that there were 3 lines of defense in Snow Domain Pavilion. However, after entering the Snow Domain Pavilion, everything was ordinary and unremarkable, as empty as the wilderness. Not even a strand of hair could be seen, much less 3 lines of defense. "This doesn't make sense. Didn't they say there were 3 lines of defense? Who?" Standing in the courtyard of the Snow Domain Pavilion, Ningyu frowned and muttered to himself. Suddenly, Ningyu's expression changed, and he quickly turned his head to look. Opposite him, a middle-aged man stopped in his tracks, his expression unusually cold. "Black Whirlwind, don't you even recognize me?" Not only was the middle-aged man's expression cold, even his tone was icy. Seeing that Ningyu's expression was dark and uncertain, the middle-aged man's lips curled into a smile. He said, "Should I call you Black Whirlwind, or should I call you Impersonator?" However, when the middle-aged man laughed, it was also very cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." Ningyu naturally wouldn't admit it, so he said in a deep voice, "Hee, it doesn't matter if you don't admit it." The middle-aged man continued to laugh. "To tell you the truth, Just an hour ago, we received news that Black Whirlwind has been killed. At this point, the middle-aged man changed the topic and said, because of this, we sent out 3 warriors of the advanced yin-yang stage to investigate, and I had to return to Snow Domain Pavilion to deal with something. Who would have thought that I would meet the impersonator of Black Whirlwind here? I will give you a chance now. The middle-aged man raised a finger and said, tell me who killed Black Whirlwind, and I will consider sparing your life. In the eyes of the middle-aged man, the warrior in front of him was only in the intermediate primal core stage, and naturally could not have killed Black Whirlwind. This was because the difference in strength between the two was too great, and they were not even on the same level. The middle-aged man guessed that the person who killed Black Whirlwind must be someone else. His cultivation level was at least in the peak of the yin-yang stage, or at least in the advanced yin-yang stage. Although Black Whirlwind's strength was the weakest among the 4 of them, it was not to be underestimated. An ordinary warrior of the advanced yin-yang stage would not have been able to kill Black Whirlwind. Since you've already guessed it, I don't have anything to hide. Ningyu lifted his black robe and revealed his true appearance. Ningyu. Looking at the familiar face in front of him, the middle-aged man raised an eyebrow in surprise. With your intermediate primal core stage cultivation, you dare to barge into Snow Domain Pavilion? You know me. Ningyu did not expect the middle-aged man to know him, and was a little surprised. I don't know you. I have only seen your portrait. The middle-aged man's words made Ning want to vomit blood. After all this time, he did not know him. Since you are Ningyu, then I am sorry to say that even if you tell me who killed Black Whirlwind, you will not be spared today, the middle-aged man said in a low voice. If I said that I killed Black Whirlwind, would you believe me? Ningyu stared into the middle-aged man's eyes and said solemnly, ha ha ha. The middle-aged man laughed maniacally and said coldly, are you lying to a 3-year-old? Even if you were at the peak of the primal core stage, you would not be able to withstand one blow from Black Whirlwind, much less kill him. It is up to you whether you believe me or not. Ningyu shrugged and put his black robe back on, revealing only his eyes. If you want to kill me today, I am afraid it will not be so easy. I can create a big commotion and let the people outside know. Whoosh! As Ningyu spoke, the middle-aged man waved his hand, and suddenly the array around the courtyard seemed to be activated. In an instant, the courtyard was enveloped in a white fog. Is that so? When the white fog rose, the middle-aged man's lips curled up into a smile. This barrier is specially prepared to deal with the invasion of foreign warriors. You are lucky to be the first warrior to open the barrier. You are very lucky. If that is the case, I will not be able to escape today. Ningyu took a deep breath, and his expression became unusually serious. The middle-aged man before him was much more powerful than Black Whirlwind. Chapter 515. Lung Mian, Ningyu, are you going to commit suicide, or should I take the initiative? The middle-aged man did not care about Ningyu's solemn expression, and said directly, if you commit suicide, you can reduce a lot of pain. However, if I take the initiative, the situation may be a little more serious. I have a hobby. I don't kill people at once. Instead, I will slowly torture them to death. By the way, this day next year will be your death anniversary anyway. I will let you die knowing why. Suddenly, the middle-aged man seemed to have thought of something and said, remember, my name is Lung Mian. Lung Mian, what kind of noodles is that? Can it be eaten? Ningyu frowned slightly and said indifferently, unfortunately, whether it's cold or hot noodles, they are not my cup of tea. You're courting death. Lung Mian's expression instantly darkened. His originally cold face became even colder at this moment. After a low shout, Lung Mian rose from the ground and appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Then Lung Mian's right hand brought along a violent primordial energy wind and blasted it towards Ningyu's chest. In order to kill Ningyu in one move, Lung Mian used 50% of his strength in this punch. In Lung Mian's opinion, he had already given Ningyu enough face by using 50% of his strength in this punch. In his words, even if Ningyu died in battle, it would be enough for him to be proud. You want to kill me with a punch of 50% strength? It's not that easy. Ningyu's soul power had reached the peak of the 5th grade. Naturally, he could tell that Lung Mian did not use his full strength and only used 50% of his strength. Lung Mian's punch of 50% strength was similar to Black Whirlwind's punch of 80% strength. You could even kill Black Whirlwind at his peak, let alone a punch that was equivalent to 80% of his strength. Bang! You clenched his right fist, and the primordial energy in his sea of consciousness surged out and wrapped around his fist. In the next moment, Ningyu threw a punch and collided with Lung Mian's fist. Ningyu, in your next life, F***CK. Before the two fists collided, Lung Mian still wanted to say something sinister. However, he forcefully swallowed his words. In fact, he even cursed out loud. That was because Lung Mian realized that his punch, with 50% of his strength, did not manage to repel Ningyu. On the contrary, Ningyu seemed to have the upper hand. What the hell is going on? Lung Mian could not believe what he was seeing. How could a warrior in the intermediate Yuan Dan realm be so powerful? Now, it's your turn to receive my palm strike. Just as Lung Mian was slightly stunned, Ningyu's right fist turned into a palm and slapped Lung Mian's cheek. The power of Ningyu's palm was extremely powerful. At the very least, it was much more powerful than Lung Mian's punch, with 50% of his strength. Humph! That punch just now was only 50% of my strength. Do you really think that's all I'm capable of? Lung Mian was indeed a warrior at the peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm. He instantly recovered from his daze. After regaining his senses, Lung Mian channeled all his Yuan Qi into his palm and pushed it out. Lung Mian was at a disadvantage in the first move. He would not allow that situation to happen again. Therefore, Lung Mian used 100% of his strength in order to kill in one blow. Dark Emperor, Ningyu bellowed, just as his palm was about to touch Lung Mian's palm. Humph! Trying to divert my attention? How is that not good? Lung Mian snorted. He thought that Ningyu wanted to divert his attention and then wait for an opportunity to strike. Who would have thought that before Lung Mian finished speaking, his expression changed drastically? Swoosh! A black figure rushed out of the storage ring in Ningyu's hand and appeared in front of Lung Mian. Black Dog? Although Lung Mian tried his best not to divert his attention, when he saw that the figure in front of him was a dog, he could not help but be momentarily stunned. Smack! However, during Lung Mian's momentary daze, the Dark Emperor seized the opportunity and swept his tail fiercely toward his cheek. Without a doubt, the Dark Emperor's tail whipped Lung Mian's cheek, leaving a bloody mark. Damn dog, you've completely angered me. Lung Mian covered his burning cheek and said fiercely to the Dark Emperor, I'm going to peel off your skin and whip your... Boom! Before Lung Mian could finish his sentence, he felt his body lighten and was sent flying. His body hit the barrier, and Lung Mian fell flat on his face. Lung Mian struggled to stand up from the ground, feeling a little lucky. Fortunately, there was a barrier around him. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing if the others in Snow Domain Pavilion saw his miserable state? However, even though he was lucky, Lung Mian's face turned completely cold. First, he was schemed against by Ningyu, and now he was schemed against by a dog. An aunt could tolerate it, but an uncle couldn't. Ningyu, you're finished. No one in the world can save you, Lung Mian bellowed in a deep voice. Haha, no one in the world can save him. Can your grandfather? At the side, the Dark Emperor laughed. A peak late-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist is only SOO. Dark Emperor, don't underestimate anyone. Ning Yu's words rang in the Dark Emperor's ears. After 2 consecutive sneak attacks, the Dark Emperor gradually became arrogant. The first sneak attack on Black Whirlwind, and in the end, he cooperated with Ning Yu to kill him. The second sneak attack on Lung Mian, who was at the peak late-stage Yin-Yang realm, almost severely injured him. Originally, the Dark Emperor could only fight against a mid-stage Yin-Yang realm martial artist. These 2 successes had indeed made him a little arrogant. At this moment, Ning Yu felt that he had to knock him down a peg to prevent him from continuing to become arrogant. Hee, how can I underestimate others? The Dark Emperor chuckled and pointed at Lung Mian. This person has a cold face, and he looks like someone owes him crystals. I don't like it, so I'm just teasing him. Be careful. Today is destined to be a fierce battle. Ning Yu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, although Lung Mian had suffered quite a bit of injuries, his strength did not decrease by much. The first 2 moves were just a test. What followed was the real battle. Crack! It's been a long time since I've eaten dog meat. Today, I want to eat dog meat and drink dog soup. Lung Mian twisted his neck and made a cracking sound. You want to eat your grandfather? Let's see if you have the ability to do so. The Dark Emperor said disdainfully. Ning Yu, I'll go test him first. As she spoke, the Dark Emperor stomped on the ground and leaped up, wanting to fight Lung Mian head-on. Wait. However, before the Dark Emperor could move, Ning Yu shook his head and smiled. You don't need to do anything to deal with Lung Mian. Hearing that, the Dark Emperor was slightly stunned. Then, as if he had thought of something, his eyes widened and his face was filled with excitement. Ning Yu nodded at the Dark Emperor imperceptibly. He then flung the storage ring in his hand above his head and said calmly, Come out. I'll leave Lung Mian to you guys. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Chapter 516. Controlled just now, Ning Yu received a message from Sun Jiangwen, saying that they had healed Li Tongtian and that the Alchemy Hall Master's cultivation had recovered to its peak. Since that was the case, Ning Yu naturally did not hesitate to summon them to fight against Lung Mian. Ning Yu was only at the intermediate primal core stage and did not have much confidence in winning against Lung Mian. If the Alchemy Hall Master, who was at the peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm, Ning Yu was confident that he could kill Lung Mian. Peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm. Lung Mian stared at the Alchemy Hall Master with a serious expression. Wang Haiba and Sun Jiangwen were naturally ignored by Lung Mian. After all, Wang Haiba was only at the intermediate Yin-Yang realm and his right hand had been severely injured, while Sun Jiangwen was only at the peak of the primal core stage. It was understandable that the 2 of them were ignored by Lung Mian. Ha ha ha, with their help, Lung Mian will probably become a hot face. The Dark Emperor laughed and said, I'm still a little excited at the thought of killing a peak of the advanced Yin-Yang realm later. Bang! Ning Yu kicked the Dark Emperor's butt and said angrily, What are you excited for? Hurry up and think of a way to break this boundary. We don't have much time left. Since Lung Mian knew that Black Whirlwind was killed by him, the other 2 advanced Yin-Yang realm warriors would know sooner or later. Ning Yu had to hurry up and break through the 3 lines of defense of Snow Pavilion before they returned and rescue Lu Wei's parents. Once they returned, the consequences would be dire. After all, there were peak Yin-Yang realm warriors in the 3rd line of defense of Snow Pavilion. Kaboom! At this moment, on the other side, the Alchemy Hall Master and Lung Mian had already started fighting. Wang Haiba was helping from the side, waiting for an opportunity to strike. As for Sun Jiangwen, he came to Ning Yu's side and asked curiously, Ning Yu, why did you call me out? Sun Jiangwen was very puzzled. With his peak Yuan core stage cultivation, he probably could not even take 1 blow from Lung Mian. However, Sun Jiangwen knew that for Ning Yu to call him out at this time, it was definitely not a joke. There must be some instructions. Upon hearing Sun Jiangwen's words, Ningyu said in a deep voice. How confident are you that you can control Lung Mian later? I mean, that kind of absolute control. He will do whatever you want him to do. Moreover, a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm will not be able to discover it. Impossible. The moment Ningyu finished speaking, Sun Jiangwen shook his head and said, To be honest, I have an 80% chance of controlling my cold face. However, it's very difficult to hide from the perception of a peak Yin-Yang realm martial artist. At the very least, I can't do it with my current soul power. It doesn't make sense. Your soul strength is at the peak of level 7. It should be easy for you to hide from the perception of a warrior at the peak of Yin-Yang realm. Ningyu frowned and felt that it was unbelievable. In his previous life, when his soul strength was only at the middle of level 6, he could hide from the perception of a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. There was no reason that Sun Jiangwen's soul strength at the peak of level 7 could not do this. It's not that simple. Unless my control of my soul strength reaches the extreme, I can't guarantee that I can hide from a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. Sun Jiangwen shook his head and said, With the strength of my soul strength, I can at most hide from a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. What's the use of that? Ningyu's expression was a little cold. He waved his hand and gestured for Sun Jiangwen to wait here. In the next moment, Ningyu rose from the ground, waved the red demon's sword in his hand quickly, and directly joined the battle. Solitaire! Ningyu shouted in a low voice. In an instant, a sword wave separated from the red demon's sword and slashed at Lung Mian. Oh no! Lung Mian was already at a disadvantage, facing the alchemist temple master and Wang Haiba alone. Now that Ningyu joined the battle again, he immediately felt the pressure increase. Qi! At the critical moment, Lung Mian forced the alchemist temple master to retreat. As he waved his sleeve, a cold light swept out and collided with the sword wave. After one move, Lung Mian shouted, Ningyu, I admit that I underestimated you. But if you want to kill me, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. This is the Snow Pavilion, our base camp. To tell you the truth, there is a warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm in the depths of the Snow Pavilion. You still have a chance to escape. When the warrior at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm comes out from the depths of the Snow Pavilion, you won't even have the chance to escape. Lung Mian rolled his eyes and said a few words in succession in order to divert Ningyu's attention. Good chance. Sure enough, seeing that Ningyu was slightly stunned, Lung Mian instantly tore the void and appeared beside Ningyu in an instant. Immediately after, a faint purple light appeared on Lung Mian's fist, and before Ningyu could react, his fist had already landed on his chest. Bam! Lung Mian's speed was extremely fast, and he did not even hesitate to burn his primordial qi to increase his speed. Therefore, Ningyu could not dodge Lung Mian's powerful attack. A crisp sound was heard, and then Ningyu's body fell straight to the back like a kite with a broken string. Uft! A mouthful of red blood was spat out, and Ningyu's face turned a little pale. Fortunately, at the critical moment, the primordial qi in Ningyu's sea of consciousness poured out, forming a primordial qi shield on the surface of his skin. Otherwise, Lung Mian's move alone was enough to seriously injure him. Even so, Ningyu's strength had dropped by 30%. As Lung Mian had focused all his attention on Ningyu, it caused him to be attacked from the front and back. He was punched in the back by the alchemist hall master and fell straight to the ground. Immediately, the alchemist hall master exerted his powerful perception and pressed on Lung Mian. There were gains and losses. Lung Mian had seriously injured Ningyu. That was a gain. He had been seriously injured by the alchemist hall master. That was a loss. Relatively speaking, Lung Mian had lost this gamble. After all, Ningyu's strength had only dropped by 30%, but he was completely controlled by the alchemist hall master. Sun Jiangwen, find a way to control him. I'll give you an hour. After an hour, I want to know how to open the 3 lines of defense of Snow Domain Pavilion. Ning Yu said to Sun Jiangwen in a deep voice, and his tone was unquestionable. Sun Jiangwen's heart skipped a beat when he heard that, and he hurriedly nodded and said, I need the help of the alchemist hall master and Wang Haiba. No problem, but you have to remember that you only have an hour. Ning Yu shouted in a low voice, you can use the supreme grade primordial crystals in the storage ring. I don't care about the process. I only care about the results. Understood. Sun Jiangwen knew that the task this time was very difficult, so he did not dare to be negligent. After responding, he immediately grabbed the seriously injured Lung Mian and swept him into the storage ring. Behind him, the alchemist hall master and Wang Haiba also sped up and followed. Ningyu, I found a way to break the barrier. Chapter 517. The second formation, no problem. Ningyu agreed to the Dark Emperor's request without hesitation. The time he gave Sun Jiangwen was an hour. Now that the Dark Emperor needed an hour, he naturally wouldn't refuse. Did you take the wrong medicine? The Dark Emperor didn't expect Ningyu to agree so readily and was stunned for a moment. That's not right. He doesn't play by the rules at all. Initially, the Dark Emperor thought that Ningyu would definitely bargain with him. Who would have thought that Ningyu would agree so readily? This made him a little stunned. Ningyu didn't know what the Dark Emperor was thinking. At this moment, he sat cross-legged on the ground and circulated the spirit transformation art to replenish his energy. In order to block Lung Mian's powerful punch, Ningyu had consumed a lot of energy in his sea of consciousness. He could use this hour to recuperate and strive to recover to his peak state. After all, the existence in the depths of the Snow Domain Pavilion was at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm. You didn't even have the slightest confidence in winning against a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm at his peak, let alone when he was injured. Therefore, before meeting a martial artist at the peak of the Yin-Yang realm, Ningyu had to recover to his peak state. Crack! Ningyu took out a supreme grade essence crystal from his storage ring and began to circulate the spirit transformation art to absorb it. Not long after, a cracking sound rang out. The supreme grade essence crystal in Ningyu's hand shattered. The energy in Ningyu's sea of consciousness had also increased significantly. It's time to cultivate the spirit transformation art. Ningyu had only cultivated the spirit transformation art to the 4th level. When he was at the true martial realm, the absorption speed of the 4th level of the spirit transformation art wasn't slow. However, when he reached the middle stage of the Yuan Dan realm, Ningyu felt that the absorption speed of the spirit transformation art couldn't keep up with his consumption. It was urgent to raise the spirit transformation art to the 5th level. However, there was only half an hour left. Ningyu would definitely not waste his time on cultivating the spirit transformation technique. At the very least, it was not easy for Ningyu to recover to his peak state within an hour. While Ningyu was recovering, in the depths of Snow Domain Pavilion in a secret room, did you find out who killed Black Whirlwind? A gray-robed old man frowned slightly and asked in a deep voice. A middle-aged man beside the gray-clothed old man hurriedly said, Elder He, I've already sent Lung Mian and the others out to investigate. I believe it won't be long before news comes back. Yes, this matter concerns our reputation. We must investigate it thoroughly. The gray-clothed old man nodded and said. Then the gray-robed elder continued, You don't have to worry about Black Whirlwind being killed. What you need to do is to ensure that Lu Wei is captured tomorrow and sent to the Imperial Palace in one piece. Elder He, I don't understand why His Majesty wants to see Lu Wei. She's just a Xiantian stage martial artist. The middle-aged man was puzzled when he heard the gray-robed elder's words. Moreover, Lu Wei's father is just an ordinary Yin-Yang stage martial artist. Her mother is even severely injured. If you hadn't sealed her meridians, her mother would have already met Hades. Ask what you should, and don't ask what you shouldn't. The gray-robed elder's face turned cold as he scolded. Your task is to send Lu Wei to the imperial palace. Don't ask or think about anything else. Even I have to keep this matter to myself, let alone you. There's nothing else for you to do here. You can leave now. The middle-aged man did not dare to stay any longer, and immediately left the secret room. Creak! After the middle-aged man left, the gray-robed elder, who was also elder placed his hands on the wall of the secret room. With a creaking sound, a stone door slowly opened. After a moment of silence, he stepped in. On the other side of the stone door was another secret room. This secret room was slightly smaller than the one outside, but there was a stone bed in the middle. A man with gray temples sat beside the stone bed. Pavilion Master Lu, what do you think? Is it time for you to hand over that thing? After entering the secret room, he said to the man beside the bed, His Majesty has been extremely benevolent to you. Not only did he save Snow Domain Pavilion, but he also slowed down your wife's injury. In short, hand over that thing, and I'll give you a good fortune pill. I'll stand by what I said. Hand over the good fortune pill first, and then let me out to see Jean alone. Otherwise, I'll never hand that thing over to you. Pavilion Master Lu's tone was calm, and it was hard to tell whether he was happy or sad. Why do you have to do this? He sighed softly. To tell you the truth, there's no need for you to persist any longer. His Majesty has already found out about Lu Wei's true identity. What? Pavilion Master Lu almost jumped up when he heard He's words. The veins on his forehead were bulging, and it was extremely frightening. If you dare to touch a single hair on Jeaner's head, I can guarantee that thing will never appear in your hands. Pavilion Master Lu forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a deep voice, as a citizen of the Xia Kingdom, how can you not hand over such a precious treasure to the royal family? He smiled before he changed the topic and said coldly, Just that alone is enough for me to execute you on the spot. Don't waste your breath. Unless you hand over the good fortune pill and let me see Jean alone, don't even think about getting that treasure for me. Pavilion Master Lu turned to look at the woman on the bed and ignored He's face darkened when he was ignored by Pavilion Master Lu, but he didn't do anything out of line. Instead, he left the secret room. At the same time, in the courtyard of Snow Domain Pavilion, Ningyu suddenly opened his eyes and slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. After an hour of rest, he had finally recovered to his peak condition, and his strength had even improved. Crack! Not long after Ningyu opened his eyes, good news came from the Dark Emperor. The enchantment was slapped open by the Dark Emperor. Right at this moment, Sun Jiangwen's voice sounded in Ningyu's mind. I've completely controlled Lung Mian. He'll do whatever you want him to do now. Hearing Sun Jiangwen's words, Ningyu revealed a look of joy. However, when Ningyu heard the second half of Sun Jiangwen's words, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. I've used up all the remaining supreme-grade essence crystals in the storage ring. There were at least 5 million supreme-grade essence crystals left in the storage ring, and Sun Jiangwen actually used them all. Even if he smashed so many supreme-grade essence crystals one by one, it would still take a long time. Ningyu, I've used the remaining supreme-grade essence crystals to set up a small array formation. As long as the cultivation of martial artists is below Yin-Yang realm, I can use this array formation to make them submit to you with 100% certainty. Sun Jiangwen hurriedly said when he saw that Ningyu was a little angry. If that's the case, it's worth it. Originally, Ningyu wanted to slap Sun Jiangwen, but after hearing the latter sentence, he directly dispelled this idea. Let alone spending 5 million supreme-grade essence crystals. Even if he spent 10 million supreme-grade essence crystals, Ningyu would unconditionally support Sun Jiangwen, because with this array formation, he could keep the corpse insect martial artists he captured in the future in the storage ring. He would first use the first array formation to get rid of the smell on his body, and then use the second array formation to make him submit to him. Chapter 5:18. Poisoned Scorpion. Sun Jiangwen. Did you find out what's going on with the 3 lines of defense? For Ningyu, no matter how good the formation was, it wouldn't be of much help. The most important thing now was to find the 3 lines of defense and Lu Wei's parents. Only by rescuing Lu Wei's parents from the snow domain could he ensure that Lu Wei wouldn't come to the snow domain pavilion tomorrow night and walk right into the trap. Yes, all 3 lines of defense are in the forbidden area of the snow domain pavilion. Sun Jiangwen explained, the first line of defense is at the entrance of the forbidden area. It's guarded by early Yin-Yang realm warriors. No one is allowed to enter without an access token. The second line of defense is in the depths of the forbidden area. It's guarded by 4 middle Yin-Yang realm warriors. Sun Jiangwen paused and then continued. This line of defense can't be entered just by having an access token. One must have a plum blossom mark on the token. Plum blossom mark? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion. He had a total of 2 white tokens on him. One was from Fangming, and the other was from Black Whirlwind. The white token from Fangming didn't have a plum blossom mark, but the one from Hei Whirlwind had a plum blossom mark on the top left corner. Hei Whirlwind, Lung Mian, Qingwu, and the pale-faced scholar. Sun Jiangwen nodded and said, all 4 of them are late Yin-Yang realm warriors. They're also the only 4 warriors with plum blossom marks on their tokens. What's the strength of Qingwu and the pale-faced scholar? Ningyu asked. They're both above Lung Mian. Sun Jiangwen said in a deep voice. The 2 of them aren't important because they're not in the capital right now. They've gone to investigate Hei Whirlwind's death. There are 2 other strong warriors in the forbidden area of the snow domain pavilion that we must pay attention to. Poison Scorpion, peak Yin-Yang realm. He's stronger than the pale-faced scholar. He's the 2nd strongest warrior in the snow domain pavilion. Old Crane, peak Yin-Yang realm. He's strong and currently controls this mysterious force. Hiss! Hearing this, Ningyu could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Originally, he thought that after dealing with Hei Whirlwind and Lung Mian, there would only be 1 peak Yin-Yang realm martial artist left in Snow Domain Pavilion. Who would have thought that there would be another powerful peak Yin-Yang realm martial artist? With all of Ningyu's forces, he could think of a way to stall Old Crane and buy him time to unleash his ultimate solitaire. But if there was another peak Yin-Yang realm late-stage martial artist, the situation would become very dangerous. Ningyu, are you going or not? The Dark Emperor's expression was slightly solemn, and his usually arrogant personality was slightly restrained. Go! Since we're already here, there's absolutely no reason for us to shrink back. Ningyu gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Sun Jiangwen, there's still an evil eye at the peak of Yin-Yang intermediate stage in the storage ring. Use the array formation to control him. I'll need him later. That's naturally not a problem. By the way, I need 2 drops of your blood essence. Sun Jiangwen seemed to have thought of something as he spoke. If you want to control Lung Mian and Evil Eye, you have to use 2 drops of blood essence. Swoosh! Swoosh! Ningyu did not waste any time and directly forced 2 drops of blood essence into the storage ring. Buzz! As soon as the blood essence entered the storage ring, Ningyu felt that he had established a subtle connection with Lung Mian. In other words, he now controlled Lung Mian's life and death. With just a thought, Lung Mian would turn into ashes. I didn't expect Sun Jiangwen to know so many things. He even has such a special array formation. Ningyu was quite satisfied with Sun Jiangwen. In the past, Ningyu had also controlled many martial artists, but he had always used his soul power to control them, which more or less affected the advancement of his soul power. But it was different now. There seemed to be a trace of connection that could not be grasped or grasped. If I have time, I should study this array formation properly. Ningyu secretly made up his mind. If he could successfully leave Snow Domain Pavilion this time, he would personally enter the storage ring to study the array formation. If he could find the trick to the array formation, it would be very easy to control others in the future. He did not need to worry about his soul power being affected at all. Dark Emperor, just like before, enter the storage ring and be on standby. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu said to the Dark Emperor beside him, "Swoosh!" The Dark Emperor turned into an afterimage and entered the storage ring. Swoosh! As soon as the Dark Emperor entered the storage ring, Lung Mian flew out and landed beside Ningyu. "Bring me to the first line of defense." Without any hesitation, Lung Mian took the lead and walked towards the depths of Snow Domain Pavilion. Ningyu took a deep breath and followed closely. Although Ningyu had been to Snow Domain Pavilion once, he had only been to the outer courtyard of Snow Domain Pavilion, not to mention the forbidden area. Lung Mian seemed to be familiar with the place and led Ningyu around Snow Domain Pavilion. Once you see it, you will never know it. From the outside, Snow Domain Pavilion looked inconspicuous, but the framework inside was extremely large to a frightening extent. Actually, it was no wonder. Snow Domain Pavilion was the largest herb store in Xia Kingdom after all. It had business all over Xia Kingdom and even had business with the neighboring Lanqing Kingdom. The capital's headquarters was the facade. If the facade was not big enough, it would be easy to be looked down upon. "We're here." Not long after, Lung Mian stopped in front of a dilapidated house. "This," Ningyu pointed at the house in front of him and asked doubtfully, "Is this the forbidden area of Snow Domain Pavilion?" "Yes, this is indeed the forbidden area of Snow Domain Pavilion." Lung Mian nodded and did not waste any more time. "All right, I choose to believe you." Ningyu shrugged helplessly and put on the black robe. His aura became exactly the same as Black Tornado. "Go ahead and lead the way." Although Ningyu chose to believe him, he was not a fool. He did not enter the house first and let Lung Mian lead the way. Creak! The house was indeed a little dilapidated. When Lung Mian opened the door, there was even a creaking sound. Ningyu muttered in his heart, could Lung Mian be lying to him? "Please show me your token." However, just as Ningyu was feeling doubtful, a powerful voice came from inside the house. Hearing this voice, Ningyu was stunned at first, but then he revealed a joyful expression. Indeed, according to Sun Jiangwen, this was the entrance to the first line of defense. The moment the door opened, Ningyu found 4 martial artists inside, and their cultivation was at the early stage of Yin-Yang realm. Swish! Lung Mian flicked his wrist and threw his token over. Swish! Ningyu naturally would not drop the ball at this time. He took out Black Tornado's token and threw it into the room. "Lord Lung Mian, Lord Black Tornado." In the next moment, the token was thrown out of the room, and a respectful voice was heard. "Lord Scorpion sent a message just now. He said to see Lord Lung Mian as soon as you return." "Did he say what it is?" Lung Mian asked according to Ningyu's instructions. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.